Chapter 777. The stone golem and Prince Shui had just met, and now they were attacking Su Fong. They cooperated very well, one on the left and one on the right. Prince Shui no longer used the Daluo heavenly sword chi. At this moment, a shocking immortal light was emitted from his body, and layers of scorching heat were released from his body. When he used them, they were tyrannical fist techniques. After dodging a few times, Prince Shui couldn't help but feel proud. Su Fong, to be honest, when I fought you back then, it was just child's play. This time, I will let you see true power. Is that so? I can't wait any longer. Su Fong dodged the attacks of the two experts. At this moment, he felt that he was fighting with the elders of heaven and earth again. He was in danger at every moment. I'll kill you, brat. The stone golem attacked a few times, but it still couldn't take down Su Fong. It roared. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Two chains appeared from its palms. They were formed from black stone and seemed to be made from the same material as the stone rui and the edgeless sword. This was a peerless king gray Dharma treasure. It was also an earth-type Dharma treasure. The stone golem was formed from fine stone. With these chains, its attack power was definitely shocking. Su Fong also grabbed the starry daylight sword. At this moment, he pushed his strength to the limit. He roughly had the strength of a calamity gray Dharma treasure. Clang, clang. The chains were like lightning. They moved like poisonous snakes and attacked strangely. They were constantly faster and circled around in midair. The attacks would cause any expert to break out in cold sweat. The starry daylight sword was also invincible. It was as thin as a cicada's wing and was even faster. It blocked the stone golem's attacks again and again. Behind him, Prince Shui was no longer a venerable Dao disciple. A venerable Dao disciple couldn't possibly have such strength. Seeing that Su Fong was being forced back by the stone golem, he waved his arm and released a white flame. Divine image burning flame. Chi chi chi. This flame caused the space to burn. It seemed like space was collapsing. Fortunately, when Su Fong attacked, he dodged in time and continued to fly to the other side. The two experts were chasing after him. At this distance, the difference in speed between the three of them was not too obvious. Su Fong glanced at the two figures behind him out of the corner of his eye. Prince Shui is so powerful that he completely surpassed Grand Elder and reached the level of Old Antique. He's even stronger than me. Not only will we need divine abilities to kill him, we'll also need a peerless Dharma treasure. I'm afraid he's hiding some amazing Dharma treasure as well. Rustle, rustle. The two stone locks burned with immortal light again. The stone golem actually had such a shocking amount of immortal chi. With the immortal chi added to the chain, this earth-type magic treasure felt as if it had reached the same level as the Starlight Sword. Its attack power was even greater than the Starlight Sword's because the immortal chi came from the Great World. Su Fong didn't dare to use his Starry Daylight Sword to block the immortal light chains. Although the quality of the Starlight Sword was astonishing, it did not possess the power of a great world. In a direct confrontation with the immortal light, its advantage was not obvious. Su Fong could only dodge again. He secretly exclaimed. The stone monster used the chi of immortals and the support of the Dharma powers of the great world. Its strength jumped to the level of 3 heavenly disasters. Overlord's Claw. Prince Shui did not expect Su Fong to be so difficult to deal with. He also fused the immortal light into his attack, but he still could not deal with Su Fong. At this moment, he suddenly unleashed a claw aura that was very similar to the heavenly dragon divine claw. The moment he grabbed at Su Fong, in coordination with the stone golem's attack, Su Fong, who was dodging, suddenly clawed down from the space above him. Claw imprints with immortal chi and aura suddenly clawed down. Instant space ring. He felt the threat of death. When Su Fong raised his head, he increased his speed by a lot. Under the simultaneous attack of the claw imprints and chains, many clones and afterimages suddenly appeared, and his true body seemed to be everywhere. It was impossible to distinguish between the afterimages and his true body. Boom! The claw imprints clawed at the afterimages and Su Fong's clones. Everything within 1 mile was destroyed. Some of the afterimages suddenly condensed into Su Fang's true body. He looked at Prince Shui quietly and said, "You have combined the heavenly dragon divine claw with your own skills to create such a powerful attack. You are indeed a disciple of the honorable path. The 7 skills of the Celestial Sealing School are not bad. Of course, I would like to absorb the essence of them." Prince Shui quickly caught up and unleashed a claw imprint at Su Fang. Whoosh whoosh, another powerful warrior, the stone golem, came out from the shockwave. Seeing that Su Fang was still alive, it opened its mouth and spat out several stone spikes as fast as flying swords. Luckily, Su Fang had the ability of a warrior at the complete realm. With his speed, not even the stone golem and Prince Shui could hurt him or threaten him with 3 strands of catastrophe. Also, he could control the origin of the Zhuotian universe. These were all his advantages. That being said, the 2 powerful warriors were coming one after another. It was difficult for Su Fang to deal with any one of them. Also, he could not use more skills. He could not tell what kind of skills Prince Shui and the stone golem had. It will be a tough fight if this goes on. Prince Shui has the ability to stall the stone golem. The 7 disciples of Celestial Sealing School are powerful as well. I think I will have to take a step back and leave this place. I will find Sheng Changsheng later. At the moment, Su Fang was calculating. He knew clearly what he had gained and what he had lost. As for Prince Shui's humiliation and the loss of his arm, I will settle it with you in the future. He planned to leave this place. He had saved the girl. He could not deal with Sheng Changsheng yet, but there would be chances in the future. On the side of the Celestial Sealing School, many powerful warriors were watching the fight in the sky. It was an unbelievable scene. Under the leadership of their leader, Ling Mu Bai, the Celestial Sealing School was able to fend off the attacks of more than 100 powerful warriors for the time being. As for the golems that could release mystical flames, the 6 disciples of Celestial Sealing School were trying to kill them one by one. At this rate, the Celestial Sealing School would turn the tables and eventually kill all the powerful warriors. Shriek! However, right above this area, in the sky, Li Mu's eyes lit up. Suddenly, a white shadow flew over. The white shadow was able to teleport. It seemed to be a woman. Every time she blinked, her speed was comparable to the speed of the Door of Wonder. In the Zhuotian realm, only the Zhuotian realm master and the immortals could achieve such speed. In less than 2 breaths, she had arrived above where Su Fang, the stone golem, and Prince Shui were fighting. Suddenly, she blinked again. Su Fang, who was using the Starry Daylight sword and unleashing a large amount of sword chi, was surprised and shocked. He pushed his speed to the limit and dodged backward. The stone golem was very proud. He and Prince Shui continued to chase after him. Su Fang, even if you run around like this, I can't save you. I'm just stalling for time. Ha! Whoosh! In the sky above the center of Su Fang, a white shadow appeared out of nowhere. It breathed out a dark flame. It was as fierce as a burning storm, and it pounced toward the stone golem and Prince Shui. The 2 masters didn't expect that someone would appear out of nowhere, and at such a fast speed. They hurriedly cast a defensive barrier to block the black flame. However, the black flame was really domineering. It burned the barrier that the 2 of them cast. They could only dodge in embarrassment. The stone golem was almost sent flying. He looked at the floating white-clothed woman. Where did this little girl come from? This white-clothed woman was wearing a long dress made of interwoven white feathers. She was about 16 years old and had a beautiful oval face. Her big eyes shone with intelligence as she floated in the air with a smug smile on her face. Sister Bai, Su Fang, who was so excited that he was about to cry, quickly ran over from behind. The white-clothed girl smiled secretly and hugged Su Fang. Brother, sister came back late. From now on, you and I will be like in the heaven and earth gate. I will protect you. It turned out that such a powerful white-clothed girl was actually Bai Ling, the crane fairy. It was really hard to believe. Su Fang's body and mind relaxed. Sister Bai, how many years has it been? 200 years, and you are already so powerful. Bai Ling pointed at the stone golem and Prince Shui. We will talk about this later. Let's deal with these two people. Each of us will kill one. Su Fong nodded. Well, you entangle the stone golem. You have the advantage of speed, so you can restrain it. I will deal with Prince Shui. Today, I will settle the score with him. Unexpectedly, Prince Shui was very unhappy. I also want to decide the winner today here. Now, everyone in the Zhuotian realm thinks that you are the #1 genius. The several disturbances in the Xianjia Gate have made you famous. But I, Prince Shui, don't believe that you can surpass me. The two disciples of the Path of Venerables would have to fight in the end. Bang! Bai Ling suddenly left behind a white trail of air. Then there was a loud explosion. It turned out that Bai Ling had sneakily attacked the stone golem. Her jade palm collided with the stone golem. Unexpectedly, the stone golem did not gain the upper hand. Bai Ling smiled and said, "Little stone golem, I know how powerful you were back then. I am just a little crane, but you don't care. Today, let's see how I will beat you into a little worm. You don't know what's good for you. You're just a little crane." The stone golem was also angry. It was not easy to join forces with Prince Shui and gain the upper hand step by step. Unexpectedly, a master came out of nowhere. Another clash ensued. Immortal light and flames burst forth. The stone golem seemed to have gained a clear advantage again. It continued to attack Bai Ling one after another. Bai Ling, on the other hand, was simply charging forward recklessly. With its sturdy stone body, it was not afraid of a spiritual beast. At this moment, Prince Shui and Su Fong stood face to face, standing in the arena like in the past. Prince Shui said, "Su Fong, you're going to stay here today. You will die miserably." Su Fong mocked, "Don't think that I don't know about you. You joined the Xinyuan Empire a long time ago. That time in the Tian Gourd territory, you wanted to get the Tian Gourd spiritual tree, but I ruined it in the end. People like you who rely on others to strengthen yourself can't be that strong. You do know something about me and the Xinyuan Empire. You don't understand that I was just using the Xinyuan Empire. Do you think that I, Prince Shui, will be willing to work for them? But that's not important. What's important is that I want to get the secret of the Xianjia Gate from you, and then give you to the Xinyuan Empire. And I will use the resources of the Xinyuan Empire to finally ascend to the great world and become an immortal." After speaking, Prince Shui clawed out a large number of domineering claws and attacked Su Fong directly. Su Fong temporarily dodged again and again. He thought to himself, "I have to use my methods and let Prince Shui use his ultimate method first. Only after knowing his methods can I deal with this person." Boom! Behind, in the sky, the stone golem and Bai Ling exchanged blows several times. The stone golem was furious. It couldn't catch up to Bai Ling time and time again. Almost every time, Bai Ling attacked first. Its speed was astonishing. This time, it would definitely obtain peerless power from Mu Chun in the Tiangang realm. Its speed would definitely be even more astonishing. It had lived in the Zhuotian realm for so many years, so it more or less had the power of the world here. The stone golem condensed a large number of stone thorns around it. Each of the stone thorns had the terrifying aura of the edgeless sword. "Watch how I deal with you." Swish! After speaking, the stone golem controlled the large number of stone thorns and released them with its aura. Chaotic energy. Bai Ling decisively chose to dodge and flew to the right. The stone thorns missed, but under the control of the stone golem, they continued to chase after Bai Ling. It wasn't much different from the flying swords. As for Bai Ling, it seemed that she was using some kind of superpower or special power. The trajectory of her dodge seemed to be drawing a large circle in the sky. Chapter 778. In front of Bai Ling, the stone golem had become a clumsy object. Any attack, even the terrifying stone spikes, were always half a beat slower than Bai Ling's speed. All of this was naturally seen by Su Fong. It turned out that Bai Ling had already grown to such a level. Thinking of the terrifying power she had obtained from the powerhouse Mu Chun in the Heavenly Dipper realm, at least the chaotic Heavenly Monarch came for the great world. To be able to become his disciple, she at least had the power from the great world. The longer this drags on, the worse it will be for me. Prince Shui. Su Fong focused his attention completely on Prince Shui, who was chasing after him again and again. If the stone golem was powerful and had the support of the immortals, then Prince Shui had merged with the immortals. No one knew how powerful the immortals were. How powerful was he to be able to make the great Emperor Dipper care about him? And that old man called the Gore Taoist. Slap! Slap! Prince Shui suddenly controlled the space in front of him and displayed his supreme divine appearance. The speed at which he flashed through this space caused his entire body to be oppressed and shackled. The friction between him and the space caused bursts of burning aura. As a result, Su Fong seemed to have fallen into this space and was placed in a quagmire. I didn't expect to go through so much trouble to kill a cultivator like you who has cultivated for hundreds of years. Let me use my full strength. Another large amount of immortal aura burned. This aura turned into a storm-like space. Under the control of Prince Shui, he took advantage of the fact that Su Fong had yet to leave the shackled space and whipped the space. Poof! 2 auras shackled Su Fong one after another. The shock caused him to spit out a mouthful of blood. Only then did he struggle out and act as if he wanted to escape. Prince Shui seemed to have guessed that Su Fong would be injured. In an instant, he came to the space beside Su Fong and waved his hand. Sword Cloud's sovereign fan. With a white fan in his hand, Prince Shui looked like a graceful gentleman, the young master of an aristocratic family. But this fan was actually close to the height of the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. The Yu Luo Cha Jade Vase was just a hair's breadth away from being comparable to the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. One extraordinary magic treasure. At this moment, Prince Shui's speed was no different from Su Fong's. He laughed sinisterly, and the Sword Cloud Supreme fan in his hand suddenly produced a Sword Cloud Storm. This Sword Cloud Storm looked like an attack formed by the fusion of a large amount of sword will. It was unknown how many Sword Dao seals were used to form it, but it was mainly due to the terrifying divine might of the magic treasure itself. Su Fong grabbed the Starry Daylight Sword, causing it to revert back to its original starry black sword form. Then he slashed out again and again, clashing with the Sword Cloud Storm. Buzz! Just as the two of them were locked in battle, a gust of wind that affected the entire crimson Nimbus continent suddenly blew over from the depths of the horizon behind them. The two of them looked out of the corner of their eyes and immediately revealed a look of shock. It turned out that it wasn't a natural storm, but a gust of wind that contained immortal light. It was constantly pushing up huge waves from the depths of the vast sky. If this continued, the entire crimson Nimbus continent would be swallowed by the huge waves. Behind the storm, which was the depths of the Zhuotian realm's world, the distorted mushroom cloud expanded by 100 times, and there were countless immortal light and thunder flashing inside. It turned out that these storms were the result of the fight for the Xinjia Gate. The shockwaves formed from the fight between more than 10 immortals had already spread across more than half of the Zhuotian realm. Even the Crimson Nimbus continent started to tremble slightly under the shockwaves. Prince Shui recovered from his shock and continued to use the Sword Cloud Supreme Fan. Su Fong, this world will probably be destroyed by the immortals soon. Everything in the Zhuotian realm will become a thing of the past. There will be no Celestial Sealing Gate, no Crimson Nimbus continent, and no Supreme Tao Disciples. How can you be so sure that the Zhuotian realm will be destroyed? Su Fong seemed to be struggling under the waves of sword will storms. If it wasn't for the Starry Daylight Sword, how could he deal with the sword will? Everything will disappear. It's good that the world that you and I were once familiar with is gone. In the future, when I have supreme power, I will build another small world, and let that small world contain the Crimson Nimbus continent, the world that I'm familiar with, and you will disappear forever. After Prince Shui finished speaking, the Sword Cloud Supreme Fan in his hand suddenly doubled in size. It was almost 3 feet long, and its entire body looked like a fan sword. Whoosh! He also sped up. While Su Fong was panting, the immortal light around Prince Shui's body doubled in intensity. The aura he released was half the immortal chi of a small world, and the other half was the immortal light from a large world. The Sword Cloud Supreme Fan released a shocking sword, that was hundreds of feet long. It was like a wall that pressed down on the space where Su Fong was. After a series of collisions, the ear-piercing sound of swords could be heard all around Su Fong. Prince Shui continued to attack. The Sword Cloud Supreme Fan's sword will contain an even stronger immortal light. The sword will seem to be released from a Dao item. At this time, his aura and attacks occupied 2/3 of the space. With an absolute advantage, not only did he force Su Fong to retreat step by step, but he also forced Su Fong to retreat. Under Ling Mubai's leadership, the Celestial Sealing Sect not only successfully blocked the attacks of more than 100 experts, but the 6 Celestial Sealing Disciples also worked together to kill the puppets. They were no longer afraid of the Immortals' attacks. Just like that, the Celestial Sealing Sect's formation attacks began to completely suppress the 100 experts under the leadership of the 7 Celestial Sealing Disciples. Seeing that Prince Shui was suppressing Su Fong, and that he would soon be able to kill Su Fong, the Celestial Sealing Sect disciples saw a burning hope in their hearts. At this time, among the countless disciples, some of the higher-ups were convinced by the 2 young experts. If only that Su Fong hadn't betrayed our sect back then. The sect is also at fault. Back then, for the sake of the Xinjia Gate secret, we had no choice but to force Su Fong into a corner. If the sect had chosen to help Su Fong escape the Xinjia Gate, our sect would have 2 peerless experts right now. They're both people who can take charge of their own affairs. Don't say any more. If the elders and leaders hear this, we'll be in trouble. Some of the higher-ups could only helplessly watch from afar as the 2 experts fought. That damn Su Fong can hold on for so long. That flying sword in his hand is even better than the Sword Cloud Supreme Fan. Humph. After countless rounds of fighting, Prince Shui's aura was still tyrannical, but Su Fong was constantly overdrawing. Even so, he was still able to use the Starlight Sword to block Prince Shui's attacks. At this moment, Prince Shui's gaze began to change. It became colder and colder, especially when he looked into the sky. The shockwaves from the battle between the immortals were becoming fiercer and fiercer, constantly covering the crimson firmament continent. It was as if it wouldn't be long before these shockwaves completely tore the crimson firmament continent to pieces. I can't continue to tangle with him like this. Finally, Prince Shui's aura underwent a shocking change. The Sword Cloud Supreme Fan in his hand was pushed to the limit. First, several storms of sword intent surrounded Su Fong. Suddenly, his aura released a shocking Dao artifact's divine might. This divine might perfectly fused with the Sword Cloud Supreme Fan. Just as the storms of sword intent were tangling with Su Fong, it suddenly swept over from above. I've finally used my true strength. Dao artifact. Su Fong seemed to be in a desperate situation, but a calm smile appeared on his face. Under the activation of his defense, the storm of sword intent that contained the Dao artifact actually shattered him and the space around him. The sword intent flashed wantonly in the surroundings. Pooh! This attack sent Su Fong flying. Within the sword intent, a large number of wounds were left on his body. The world's origin fused with the Tao of the void and the Tao of the corporeal, augmented by the limitless clone. He secretly formed hand seals, truly releasing the Zhuotian realm's origin that he possessed. He also fused the seals from the ethereal true record and the limitless clone. Under such a destructive, spatial sword chi, Su Fong felt that the sword chi was constantly piercing his body. Blood splattered everywhere. Prince Shui's strength is at least at the second calamity stage, and he also has a Dao artifact. Even a powerhouse at the third calamity stage would find it difficult to kill him. Seeing the Dao artifact's sword intent around him becoming more and more terrifying, Su Fong also knew that if he couldn't control any of his abilities or defenses well, he would be seriously injured by the Dao artifact's divine might, or even kill him. Suppress. At least at this moment, Su Fong was already seriously injured. Under the swordwell space, he was constantly being sent flying and had lost all ability to attack. Prince Shui suddenly attacked from the front again. He grabbed a Dao artifact sealing chain with both hands. With the suppression of the Dao artifact's divine might, he was definitely going to suppress Su Fong. This Tao artifact's power was like a mountain as it forcefully crashed into Su Fong. The storm of sword intent from before was also shattered by this Tao artifact's aura. At this moment, Prince Shue's strength had reached its peak. He wanted to use his most powerful state to suppress the opponent that he thought was the most powerful. Boom! In a breath, the Tao artifact's divine might, pushed by the Tao artifact's sealing chain, struck Su Fong, who was covered in blood mist, with lightning speed. His body immediately began to shatter. I can't die like this. When Prince Shui saw this, he immediately controlled the Tao artifact's divine might in panic. He was really afraid that under his full strength, Su Fong would be instantly killed. But just as Su Fong was shattering in the blood mist, just as Prince Shui entered the storm of sword intent, a figure suddenly appeared behind Prince Shui amidst the turbulent sword intent, storm, and aura. At the same time, he unexpectedly grabbed a white light sword shadow and slashed toward Crown Prince Shui's back. "Prince, watch out behind you." Prince Shui's eyes suddenly shone with divine light. He instinctively dodged and raised his left hand to release defense and aura. Swish! Swish! The white light sword shadow condensed into the starry daylight sword. The sharp edge of the sword instantly shattered Crown Prince Shui's aura. Following the momentum, the sword slashed through his left arm. Blood spurted out. Before the starry daylight sword could land, Crown Prince Shui's left arm had been completely separated from his body. Crown Prince Shui cried out in pain. Then, he was surrounded by Tao artifacts, and with a burst of speed, he managed to escape from Su Fong, who had just taken form. Boom! Su Fong's real body appeared behind the starry daylight sword, holding it in one hand and grabbing Prince Shui's left arm with the other. He watched as Prince Shui escaped, wrapped in a powerful divine light. Then he saw the countless shocked gazes of the celestial sealing sect looking at him. Su Fong suddenly sneered. "Prince Shui, you also have a day like this. Back then, when I was training at the celestial sealing sect, you used your status as a disciple of the Venerable One to order the experts of the Crown Prince Society to kill me. Back then, you had the highest authority in the celestial sealing sect. You were the darling of the entire sect. As for me, I was just an ordinary disciple. You used your status as a disciple of the Venerable One to openly attack me in front of nearly 100,000 other disciples. You stripped me of all the magical treasures I had fused with. You even severed my left arm in front of all these disciples. Today I, Su Fong, will pay you back with your left arm. And I've done it. This is your left arm. Today, in front of the house of immortal sealing, I'll give you an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a tooth for a tooth, a grudge for grudge. Whoever is my friend, I'll cherish them. Whoever is my enemy, one day, I'll make them pay with blood. Prince Shui, I, Su Fong, will take your left arm." Boom! Next, after roaring like a tiger, in front of the countless disciples of the House of Immortal Sealing, he grabbed Crown Prince Shui's left arm and crushed it into powder. Chapter 779. Shui Prince Shui. This scene is exactly the same as what happened in the Flying Immortal Islands Xinjia Gate. Yeah, it's like the past is happening again. Unfortunately, the winner isn't Prince Shui, but Su Fong. Zun Dao disciple, Su Fong has only been cultivating for a few hundred years, and I heard that he doesn't have a gold core. How did he become an expert in such a short time? Su Fong's words echoed in the sky above the celestial sealing sect. Whether it was the upper echelons, the undead realm disciples, or even the vast core realm disciples who were still alive, they all stared at the sky in disbelief. Many of them had witnessed how Prince Shui stripped Su Fong of his magical treasures and cut off Su Fong's arm in front of 100,000 disciples at the Flying Immortal Island Xinjia Gate. Kill Su Fong. Great Elder Xiao Yun and Daoist Gozhen were obviously protecting Prince Shui and Prince Shui by gathering experts to kill Su Fong. Cough, cough. In the sky, immortal light suddenly shone brightly, and Prince Shui's body was covered in immortal light. He appeared in a sorry state, and his right hand was pressing on his severed arm, which was bleeding profusely. Su Fong, I underestimated you. I gave you such a chance, and it wasn't hard for me to kill you. His eyes were bloodshot, and he stared at Su Fong as if he wanted to eat him alive. You're too arrogant, too arrogant. You think you're the only one with immortal strength? You think you're the only one with a Dao item? You have an expert called Gourd Daoist protecting you? If it wasn't for that sword attack, I could have at least seriously injured you, and not just lose your left arm. Su Fong looked at Prince Shui with killing intent. If he attacked now, wouldn't he be able to kill Prince Shui? He smiled calmly. The humiliation from back then is finally over today. Prepare to die. I won't let you go. You think you can leave like this? Prince Shui suddenly released an even more shocking immortal radiance. A Dao artifact was on the verge of being released. This guy was going to release a Dao artifact to kill Su Fong. Furthermore, he looked over at the two grand elders of the House of Immortal Sealing and the 20 or so experts who were currently heading towards Su Fong. He had suffered such a big loss, so he definitely would not let Su Fong off. Su Fong stared at Xiao Yun, Daoist Wuzhen, and the disciples of the Celestial Sealing Gate who viewed him as an enemy. Suddenly, he shook his head and said, "All of you have been tricked by Prince Shui. Don't listen to his nonsense." Prince Shui revealed a sinister expression. However, Xiao Yun and Daoist Wuzhen slowed down. Su Fong looked at the countless disciples of the Celestial Sealing Sect. This peerless disciple in front of you, Crown Prince Shui, has long been secretly in contact with the Primordial God World's Primordial God Empire. He has long been serving the Primordial God Empire. Back then, when the Celestial Sealing Sect helped him seize the Heavenly Gourd Spirit Tree, he invited the Big Dipper Emperor and a group of experts. I saw this with my own eyes. Moreover, this person is planning to suppress me and obtain the secrets of the Celestial Sealing Sect that I know. Then, instead of handing it over to the Celestial Sealing Sect, he will immediately betray the Celestial Sealing Sect and offer me to the Primordial God Empire. In the future, he will no longer be a disciple of the Celestial Sealing Sect. You have no proof. Who would believe you? Prince Shui looked at the disciples of the Celestial Sealing Gate. This person is trying to drive a wedge between us in order to save his dog life. Do I need to drive a wedge between us? I even dare to offend an immortal. Why would I be afraid of a mere Celestial Sealing Gate? How laughable. Su Fong wasn't angry at all. Instead, he sneered. Prince Shui, in my eyes, you are also a genius. You will do anything to achieve your goal. What's the point of quibbling now? You want to stay in the Celestial Sealing Gate. Why are you pretending to be a disciple of the Celestial Sealing Gate? Huh? Prince Shui suddenly lit up with a dazzling, immortal light. He ignored everyone and roared madly. His laughter rolled out like a supreme emperor. Crazy. At this moment, it was unknown whether the 20 or so experts of the Celestial Sealing Gate were going to deal with Su Fong. Prince Shui's eyes suddenly became calm. Su Fong, you were able to kill the great Emperor Dipper's true body, kill the Doichi experts, and destroy the Heavenly Gourd Spirit Tree. I have to admit that you are the only enemy I have ever met in my life. I, Prince Shui, have worked with the Xinyuan Empire a long time ago. But so what? At least I haven't done anything to betray the Celestial Sealing Gate. Everyone has a choice. Do you think I, Prince Shui, have to stay in the Celestial Sealing Gate? You, the higher-ups and disciples of the Celestial Sealing Gate, were both shocked and furious. Prince Shui said indifferently, "Everyone from the Celestial Sealing Gate, I, Prince Shui, am not your enemy. Your enemy is Su Fong. He killed a disciple of the Celestial Sealing Gate, and now I'm helping you. Isn't it better to kill him? Why don't you join forces with me to kill this unfilial son?" Furthermore, the experts who attacked the Celestial Sealing Gate are also here to deal with Su Fong. In truth, the Celestial Sealing Gate's current situation is all because of Su Fong. As long as we suppress Su Fong, the Celestial Sealing Gate's problems will be easily solved. Grand Elder Xiao Yun roared furiously. You and Su Fong are both traitors of the sect. Everyone, Su Fong suddenly said, I, Su Fong, used to be a disciple of the Celestial Sealing Gate, but the reason I left was because the sect insisted on getting the secret of the Xinjia Gate for me. They didn't even know what was right or wrong and treated me as a traitor. Even so, I still came here today to say one last thing. You'd better leave the Ewa Heaven Realm. The entire Jua Heaven Realm will turn into ruins because of the immortals who stole the Shinja Gate. The Celestial Sealing Gate's Taoist rite will also turn into dust. After saying this, Su Fong finally calmed down and turned to leave. As for killing Prince Shui, that wasn't very realistic. "Where do you think you're going?" shouted Prince Shui as he chased after Su Fong. "Watch me, bro." However, Su Fong's speed was on full display. He disappeared from the Celestial Sealing Gate in front of the countless disciples. When he reappeared, he was in the air above the stone golem and Bai Ling's fight. Bai Ling was still in the air, drawing a circle to attack. Seeing Su Fong appear, Bai Ling was very unhappy. The stone golem turned pale with fright. "Brat, you still want to escape today? To tell you the truth, I've already notified 7-Star Child. You're just waiting to be suppressed by the immortals. That's where you're wrong. When I came here, I used the Zhuotian Realm's essence to seal your aura. The will you released, as well as any physical power, were all wiped out invisibly." Su Fong naturally smiled and was about to attack. However, Bai Ling gave him a look. It seemed that Bai Ling had the absolute ability to kill or suppress the stone golem. Sure enough, Bai Ling suddenly drew a circle and made the stone golem circle in place. When the stone golem found Bai Ling's position and moved, a chaotic aura suddenly rose from the surroundings. Boom! Along with the stone golem's anger and disdain, a powerful punch landed on the layer of chaotic chi shield. But this majestic power that contained immortal light did not shatter the chaotic aura. Oh! Su Fong also saw that the aura released by Bai Ling was not simple. Suppress. Bai Ling spat out a chaotic storm. This storm swept into the aura, and the entire aura suddenly turned into a vortex. From bottom to top, it began to twist and turn into a fried dough twist. Under this shocking change, the stone golem hurriedly reacted, as if he wanted to grab a Dao artifact to release an attack, because the power of the Dao artifact was even more shocking. However, the enormous amount of energy that the stone golem had unleashed caused him to be wrapped tightly like a fried dough twist. Furthermore, the primal chaos energy flames were burning him. None of the true energy that the stone golem had unleashed, not even the immortal light, was a match for the primal chaos energy. Damn it! The stone golem struggled vigorously. Bai Ling also trembled slightly with his struggle. It seemed that Bai Ling's strength was about the same as the stone golem's, but this strange chaotic power was countless times stronger than the stone golem's. Su Fong. Unexpectedly, an immortal light rushed up from behind. "Prince Shui, you still haven't given up. You think you can deal with me and suppress me?" He did not expect that Prince Shui would chase after him again. Since they were going to fight, there was no need to be afraid of him. Tut, tut, Bai Ling still had to suppress the stone golem, and Su Fong had to fight Prince Shui. Who knew? Su Fong secretly released the power of the Nihility Heavenly Secret Life shrinking technique that controlled this space. Suddenly, there began to be a terrifying vibration. He immediately released the power of the Great Perfection stage. As soon as he turned around, he saw a huge net of immortal light coming from the shockwave. Su Fong trembled deeply. "Immortal! Master is here. You're gonna die, haha." The stone golem laughed wildly. "Come into my body." Bai Ling suddenly opened his mouth, twisted out a beam of light, and swallowed the stone golem. "What is an immortal?" Prince Shui suddenly stopped, and his murderous aura disappeared. He stared at the sky in disbelief. "It is indeed an immortal. Oh no, I don't know why an immortal is here. At this time, it is better to leave. Su Fong, the next time we meet, it will be a life and death battle. I will use the Xinyuan Empire to destroy you and the 5 Poison Divine sect. Just you wait." Prince Shui gloomily cast a hostile look at Su Fong, then turned around and fled to the other side of the sky. "Sister Bai, let's leave this place quickly. 7-Star Child is here." At this moment, Su Fong also came to Bai Ling's side. I have already used the nihility shrinking technique. I don't know how Seven-Star Child sensed my presence. Immortals are too powerful. Let's leave quickly. Running away is the best plan. Huh. Bai Ling pulled Su Fong and started to leave this space with the speed of a door. Su Fong used the origin of the world and the nihility shrinking technique to perfectly hide his presence. He looked down at the celestial ceiling sect that was gradually disappearing. Sheng Chong Sheng, I will definitely get the purple Chi Dharma spirit from you. Wait for me to avoid Seven-Star Child. Whoosh! Above the celestial ceiling sect, two streaks of immortal light suddenly appeared in the sky, riding the immortal net. It was Seven-Star Child and the young man. Celestial Lord, save us. More than 100 experts from the Stone Golem who were fighting with the celestial ceiling sect saw Seven-Star Child, as if they had seen their parents. They kowtowed and cried. The young man looked at Seven-Star Child. Brother Seven-Star, you go after that Su Fong. I will stay behind. If an immortal comes, I will stall him and then capture Su Fong. You and I will meet at the Xinjia Gate. That Tao artifact is yours and mine. That kid's presence is disappearing. Okay. Seven-Star Child decisively flew into the sky. Seniors, take the disciples and run. Run as many as you can. Leader Ling Mubai saw that the young man stayed behind and seemed to know what was going to happen next, so he hurriedly ordered the seniors around. Chapter 780. Zhuotian Realm, Unparalleled Sky. An immortal light broke through the sky, wanting to tear this world apart. Seven-Star Child, who was in the immortal light, was releasing a terrifying immortal speed. In less than 2 breaths, he arrived below the Zhuotian Realm's world barrier. He then released his perception and looked around. Outside the world barrier, in the vast sky, Sister Bai, come in. For figures were flying in the Milky Way. They were Su Fong and Bai Ling. The other two were Exalted Master Yuezhen and Lan Haicheng, who had been waiting in the Star River for a long time. Su Fong sensed something and immediately released a Xian Guang, absorbing Exalted Master Yuezhen, Lan Haicheng, and Bai Ling into his body at the same time. He then looked at the Zhuotian realm below. An immortal light flew out from the world barrier and locked onto his position. Seven-Star Child, this is the Endless Star River. Do you think I'm afraid of your world power? At this time, the two were about 10 miles apart. Seeing the immortal light, Su Fong could clearly see Seven-Star Child. He turned and plunged deeper into the Star River, flying toward the densely packed meteorites in front. Seven-Star Child controlled the immortal light's aura. Even though he came to the Star River, his speed was astonishing. He directly teleported and chased after Su Fong. However, Su Fong increased his speed to the extreme and was not much slower than him. Soon, he saw some meteorites and secretly used the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique to hide his aura. In the Dark Star River, Su Fong pushed his world aura to the extreme and entered a group of small meteorites. At this time, a remnant interstellar storm exploded nearby, causing the Star River to suddenly roll up a shocking wind. Looking at the immortal light behind him that was gradually disappearing, Su Fong sighed. Seven-Star Child can sense that I'm in the immortal ceiling sect. It should be related to Lan Haicheng. Lan Haicheng probably had a problem when she left the Stone Golem. He used the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique again. At this time, Su Fong had turned into a completely black star and stirred up the turbulent Star River. Therefore, he decided to hide on a rock that wasn't too big. He cast the power of the Earth School and turned himself into a starry black color. Then, he moved into the depths of the starry river along with the aftershocks of the meteors and storms. Nearly 10 breaths later, Seven-Star Child arrived at the remnants of the storm. However, all he saw were countless meteorite fragments. Coupled with the effects of the storm's remnants, this starry river was unable to extend its perception to a distant location. For a moment, Seven-Star Child seemed to be trapped in this starry river. The earth element had helped Su Fong a lot. This also had something to do with Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. Coupled with the hidden power of the Heavenly Secret Life shrinking technique and the natural shackles of the Milky Way, even immortals couldn't find any clues in the vast Milky Way. 1 hour later, Su Fong released his great perfection stage ability and continuously sent out his senses behind him. He didn't detect any immortal aura or life aura fluctuations. Apparently, Seven-Star Child hadn't chased after him, or perhaps he had chased in another direction. Su Fong continued to wait. Following the remaining power, he moved naturally into the depths of the galaxy, gradually leaving the Zhua Tian realm, in the celestial ceiling sect deep in the Crimson Sky continent. At this moment, a tearing force of immortal aura had completely covered the celestial ceiling sect's dojo. With a collapsing and tearing force, it instantly destroyed everything. Many senior members of the celestial ceiling sect were struggling at death's door under the attack of this immortal and escaped with some disciples. However, under the tearing force of the immortal, the disciples of the celestial ceiling sect were constantly losing their balance and falling to the ground in groups, just as the force of the immortal was about to cover those disciples who were escaping. Suddenly, 7 figures flew out. Ling Mubai was the leader. The 6 immortals of the celestial ceiling sect used all their strength to support Ling Mubai. Ling Mubai took out a deity pearl. It was the Tao artifact that Su Fong had obtained from the Xinjia Gate and given to the celestial ceiling sect in the end. Bang! The power of the Tao artifact formed a shocking force and forcefully struck the tearing force, instantly stopping it from continuing to kill the disciples of the celestial ceiling sect. On the other side, an immortal was leading some experts who had survived under the stone golem's command. They were watching the tearing force burn the disciples of the celestial ceiling sect. What a mysterious young man. He looked at the pearl that Ling Mubai was activating in surprise. The quality of this Tao artifact is not very good, but it can be activated by you mortals. However, if a mortal activates a Tao artifact, the Tao artifact will devour the cultivator's strength and absorb it cleanly. Retreat. It seemed that the young man was right. Ling Mubai and the 6 immortals of the celestial ceiling sect were trembling. The power of the Tao artifact released by the pearl was getting weaker and weaker. Ling Mubai had no choice but to run with the 6 immortals of the celestial ceiling sect, no longer caring about the remaining disciples. The remaining disciples watched in despair as the senior members of the celestial ceiling sect ran away. In a breath's time, their bodies were swept by the tearing force and turned into pieces of blood on the ground. The entire dojo of the celestial ceiling sect was instantly turned into dust. Corpses piled up like mountains and blood flowed like rivers. Even the ruins were dyed red. There were hundreds of thousands of disciples, and less than 1/10 of them had survived in the end. The young man was too lazy to chase after Ling Mubai. To him, there was no need to chase after these mortals. Brother Hua, 7-Star Child suddenly landed from the sky. You didn't catch him? Asked the young man coldly. By the time I caught up with him, that kid had already escaped into the Starry River. He just happened to encounter an interstellar storm that caused the Starry River to be filled with the remnant power of the explosion. It's hard to detect him in a large area. What a mortal cultivator called Su Fong. I thought he had some ability before, but he was able to do this. The next time I see him, I definitely can't be careless. I'll go all out. We have to hurry back to help Brother Huang. We can only forcibly take the celestial ceiling sect. Let's go. The 2 immortals led a group of defeated cultivators away from the ruins of the celestial ceiling sect. Deep in the Zhuotian realm, the center of the empty water region was filled with terrifying shockwaves that kept steaming the water region. Deep in the sky, the Xinjia Gate floated there, motionless. The sky above the celestial ceiling sect was still filled with immortals fighting each other. Most of the shockwaves that spread out were spread toward the depths of the celestial ceiling sect. However, the water region below the celestial ceiling sect had already been affected by the shockwaves. The formation had actually revealed a 100-meter underwater surface. Suddenly, a few powerful cultivators flew into the celestial ceiling sect. There were also some cultivators who flew out of the celestial ceiling sect with serious injuries. It turned out that there were already many cultivators inside the celestial ceiling sect, looking for the secrets of the Celestial Sealing Sect. Inside the Tao artifact space, in a deeper space outside the Celestial Sealing Sect, a large number of white bones were suddenly blown up into the air along with an explosion. Clang! Another two silhouettes quickly rushed out. They were actually experts from the upper celestial devil world, Great Devil King. The other person was also coincidentally the sect master of the Green Lotus Sword sect, Lu Qingfeng. Great Devil King had suffered a certain amount of injuries. The devil chi that he released was mostly shackled by the Celestial Sealing Sect's Celestial Sealing Sect. Big shots like them who had reached 3 calamities were still shackled inside the Celestial Sealing Sect. Suddenly, the Sword Elder of the Green Lotus Sword sect and a dozen other people flew over. With Lu Qingfeng as the center, they said, "Sect Master, we have already killed a few devils from the upper celestial devil world. Now, we can join forces to deal with this Great Devil King. Green Lotus Sword sect, remember this. Once my injuries are healed, I will definitely bring the immortals to kill my way into the Wu-Tan world and destroy your Green Lotus Sword sect." Oomph. Who would have thought that Great Devil King, seeing that the situation was not good, actually turned around and fled, flying into the depths of the Celestial Sealing Sect. "Chase him down," an expert shouted, but he was stopped by the sect master, Lu Qingfeng. "Don't chase a cornered enemy. This person is not weak, not much weaker than me. If not for Senior Huang Yuan's recent marrow cleansing and passing the last calamity, I would not have been able to suppress this person." The Sword Elder and the others bowed together. "Congratulations, leader. You have already passed 3 calamities. You can ascend to the great world at any time. In fact, even without the immortal's marrow cleansing, I should have already passed 3 calamities. It's just that this time, there are immortals, so I can borrow their strength to increase my confidence in passing the calamity. As expected, I successfully passed the last calamity. Next, we have to follow Senior Huang Yuan's arrangement and find the Celestial Sealing Sect with the other experts. Once the 3 immortals join forces and kill the other immortals outside, we can take action and forcibly take the Celestial Sealing Sect. We have to speed up. Even experts like Great Demon King and many realm lords have entered this Celestial Sealing Sect. We have to find a secret quickly and break the Celestial Sealing Sect. Once we can get the secret, all of us here will have the chance to leave this small world with the immortals and become immortals." Sect Master Lu Qingfeng immediately led the experts under his command to search the depths of the Celestial Sealing Sect. On the other side, a devil chi stepped on a flying sword and flew quickly in the Celestial Sealing Sect with the speed of an undead realm cultivator. It was Great Demon King. It seemed that Great Demon King had suffered serious injuries. He arrived at the second layer of the Celestial Sealing Sect's barrier before landing in the pile of skeletons. He was a big shot with 3 calamities, but he was also shackled by the Celestial Sealing Sect. Pooh! He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. He licked the corner of his mouth and sat down cross-legged. With a grab of his hand, more than 10 female cultivators were sealed by devil runes. They were like wooden puppets without much expression. Great Demon King grabbed one of the women and pressed his hands on her head. He actually opened his mouth and absorbed the blood essence coming from the woman's head. "Junior sister, are we going to die too?" Unexpectedly, Yin Chan and Zhang Riyun from the Twin Immortal sect were among the women behind them. Seeing the female cultivator's essence being absorbed by Great Demon King and then turned into a dried corpse, Yin Chan was so scared that her body turned cold. The other women were also the same. It turned out that they were all captured by Great Demon King to cultivate devil arts or dual cultivate. In short, there was only one word to describe their fate: death. Zhang Riyun's body was stiff, but her eyes were burning with vigor. "Senior sister, I don't want to die. You don't want to die either. We have to survive." Yin Chan had already given up. She looked at the devil runes on her body. "Junior sister, if I had cultivated well these years, I might have had the strength to protect you and myself, but don't give up like this. Even if we die, we have to have the right to choose how we die. We can't die in the hands of a devil like this." Senior sister, pull yourself together, Zhang Ruiyun said tenaciously. I will activate my golden core and use the power of my body to break open the devil runes. Senior sister, when my golden core explodes, use the power of your body to shatter the devil runes and escape. No, Yin Chan cried. Since I can't choose whether to live or die, I can only choose how to die. The devil thought that he could shackle me, but he didn't know that I was born in my golden core. I have a power like a catastrophe. This power can still be used under the seal of the devil runes. Unfortunately, this power can't kill the devil. It can only destroy my golden core. Senior sister, if you can survive, you must live well. After saying that, Zhang Ruiyun activated the golden core in the depths of her body. The golden core under the layers of devil runes suddenly burned with astonishing flames. Tribulation taker. Suddenly, in the endless depths of the immortal formation, a pair of eyes filled with immortal light seemed to have just awakened. They could see Zhang Ruiyun trapped in the immortal formation outside, and an ethereal voice sounded. So the person I was waiting for was a tribulation taker. Chapter 781. Of course, this came from the depths of the Xinjia Gate. The mysterious voice was something that the great demon king, these female cultivators, Yin Chan and Zhang Ruiyun, could not hear. Using these women to recuperate and devour their essence will allow me to recover in less than a month. However, the great demon king was absorbing the fourth female disciple alive. The woman struggled for a while and stopped responding. Her body began to shrink and turn into a mummy, not even sparing her bone marrow and heart. Behind, Yin Chan was so scared that she almost lost her will. Zhang Ruiyun, who was next to her, suddenly emitted a lot of flame aura from her eyes and demonic patterns. She suddenly spat out a burst of tribulation fire as fast as lightning, hitting the demonic patterns on Yin Chan's body. She cried out with tears in her eyes, "Senior sister, you have to live well." Oh, the great demon king suddenly felt something. When he came back to his senses, he saw that Zhang Ruiyun's entire body was covered in tribulation fire, as if she was about to explode. The great demon king smiled coldly. Whoosh! The demonic patterns on Yin Chan's body were shattered by the tribulation fire released by Zhang Ruiyun. She silently shed tears, gritted her teeth, and fled to the other side. Where are you going? Little did they know that a distorted demonic light shot out from the great demon king's eyes. This demonic light was actually the demonic disintegration seal, which was also a supreme primordial spirit attack. In the blink of an eye, Yin Chan's speed could not compare to the demonic primordial spirit attack of the demonic disintegration seal. There was still some distance between them, and she could escape into the immortal clouds. However, her entire body was hit by the distorted demonic light, and a Xian Guang suddenly exploded above her head. Yin Chan's body trembled, and she suddenly lost her balance. She fell unconsciously and smashed into the white bones. Senior sister. Seeing this scene, Zhang Ruiyun could no longer help. She felt extreme despair when she saw Yin Chan being killed. Her Tao heart and will finally collapsed. Her body burned with a shocking tribulation fire, and her demonic patterns were burning. The great demon king was furious, releasing killing intent as he stared at Zhang Ruiyun. However, he was shocked. What kind of power is this? I have cultivated for 10,000 years and reached the strength of 3 calamities, but my sealing demonic patterns were burned by an ordinary cultivator like you. However, Zhang Ruiyun could no longer move. Her entire body was burning with tribulation fire. I'm here. Whether you live or die depends on whether I'm happy or not. The great demon king was thoroughly enraged. How could he tolerate the existence of resistance? Suddenly, a burst of demonic flames shot out and transformed into a large hand, grabbing toward Zhang Ruiyun. Whoosh! Just as the demonic flame hand was about to grab Li Run, a whirlpool of nothingness swept her away. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. Rumble, however, the great demon king's power missed. What's going on? How did he disappear? The great Devil King's arm trembled slightly, and he immediately jumped over to where the Devil Flame hand had exploded. He saw some tribulation fire on some demonic flames. As for the corpse, could it be that it had been burned? No. The great Demon King was very sure that Zhang Ruiyun did not have a vagina at all. This caused him to fall into deep thought. After a while, he recovered from the shock. Could it be that this female cultivator has already obtained the protection of the Xinjia Gate's will? She is the true fusion of the Xinjia Gate. As expected of a peerless giant, an ancient antique. The great Demon King immediately thought of this and immediately regretted it. If he had known this earlier, he would not have immediately devoured Zhongrun. It would be equivalent to him controlling the Xinjia Gate. But now, that female cultivator might still be somewhere around. I have to find her as soon as possible. If I can devour her, I can obtain the Xinjia Gate. With a flash, the great Demon King flew away on his sword. The endless river of stars was still as cold as an ice cave. A few days later, on a meteorite, a Xian Guang suddenly flashed, and Su Fong turned from starry black to his original appearance. He floated up and immediately released a heavenly boat. It's impossible for the seven-star child to chase after me. He probably can't catch up to me and will immediately rush back to the Zhuotian realm to continue snatching the Xinjia Gate. After entering the heavenly boat, he asked Bai Ling and exalted Yuezhen to come out. As soon as Bai Ling came out, he sized up Su Fong. "Brother, were you seriously injured by Prince Shui?" Exalted Yuezhen said, "Master's magical power is infinite now. When fighting with Prince Shui, as long as you use your methods and pretend to be seriously injured, you will find an opportunity to kill Prince Shui. Sister Bai, you have changed too much in the past 200 years. The three of them came to the side and sat down, finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. Su Fong asked again, "Did you follow Senior Mu Chun to the Heavenly Dipper Realm?" "Originally, when I took back the mortal emperor world 100 years ago, I wanted to find the Heavenly Dipper Realm. I sent out a few thoughts to you, but I didn't get your response. The Heavenly Dipper Realm is very far from here. The key is that there are a few nebulas and star sand galaxies. When I left with Senior Mu Chun, it took me more than 20 years to finally reach the Heavenly Dipper Realm. That Heavenly Dipper Realm can be considered a prosperous place for cultivation." In front of Su Fong, Bai Ling said happily, "The Heavenly Dipper Realm followed Senior Mu Chun to a secret and dangerous place. There, I finally entered Li Xingqiu's training ground. Everything was as Senior Mu Chun said. The heavenly neck spiritual ring that shackled me was indeed left behind by the Heavenly Lord of Chaos. As for Li Xingqiu, he was just one of the many cultivators who mistakenly entered the cave abode left behind by the Heavenly Lord of Chaos. Once a cultivator mistakenly entered the cave abode left behind by the Heavenly Lord of Chaos, they could cultivate the power of chaos. In the end, they were shackled by the Heavenly Neck spiritual ring. Because the Heavenly Neck spiritual ring was refined by the Heavenly Lord of Chaos in the past and left behind in the cave abode, any cultivator who agreed to become his disciple would have to sacrifice their blood to the Heavenly Neck spiritual ring. Since ancient times, who knows how many cultivators who obtained the Heavenly Neck spiritual ring were unable to cultivate the power of chaos in the end. Li Xingqiu was one of them. He was also shackled by the Heavenly Neck spiritual ring and cultivated the power of chaos for countless years. However, when he reached the three natural disasters, he still could not cultivate the power of chaos. In the end, he died because of the shackles. When he was alive, he used the Heavenly Neck spiritual ring left behind by the Heavenly Lord of Chaos to refine many spiritual rings to deal with enemies and refine puppets. Senior Mu Chun was one of them. In the past, when he came to the Zhuotian realm and left with serious injuries, he left some puppets that died here. Thus, the Heavenly Neck spiritual ring was left behind in the Zhuotian realm. With the help of Senior Mu Chun, I integrated the power of chaos left behind by Li Xingqiu and the Heavenly Neck spiritual ring refined by the Heavenly Lord of Chaos. Only then could I release the Heavenly Neck spiritual ring on my neck. However, I was also shackled by the spiritual ring refined by the heavenly Lord of Chaos. According to Senior Muchen's words, I had to completely integrate everything left behind by the heavenly neck spiritual ring in order to finally get rid of the shackles of the heavenly neck spiritual ring. Senior Muchen also helped me to cleanse my marrow with all his strength. He allowed me to integrate the power refined by Li Xingqiu in the past, as well as the many resources left behind by him. In addition to the power of chaos and the heavenly neck spiritual ring left behind by the heavenly Lord of Chaos, I changed almost every day. Finally, I passed the great calamity and now have the strength of the 3 natural disasters. I could have ascended, but I was unable to integrate everything left behind by the heavenly Lord of Chaos. I'm afraid that I will end up like Li Xingqiu, staying in the small world forever and being shackled for the rest of my life. A second ago, Bai Ling was still talking vividly. However, at this moment, she suddenly seemed unhappy and almost cried. She was very aggrieved, like a little girl. The feeling of being shackled by the heavenly neck spiritual ring was naturally unpleasant. Su Fong had a rough understanding of Bai Ling's experience in the past 200 years. Bai Ling pouted. Just a few decades ago, after I integrated everything, Senior Mu Chun successfully ascended to the big world. I sealed the cave dwelling left behind by the heavenly Lord of Chaos and rushed back to see you. After passing through a few nebulas, I sensed your consciousness. It took me more than 20 years to return to the Zhuotian realm. Take out the heavenly neck spiritual ring and let me take a look. It's simple. With a wave of her hand, a chaotic ring appeared in Bai Ling's hand. This was exactly the same as the heavenly neck spiritual ring, but the color was very different. Upon closer inspection, there were some wonderful Tao pattern totems on the heavenly neck spiritual ring. They were large snakes that entangled the spiritual ring, giving people a very uneasy aura. It turned out to be a Tao artifact. Su Fong looked at it for a while and said helplessly, "It's troublesome if it's a Tao artifact. If it's still a small world-grade magical treasure, I can think of a way to destroy it when I become stronger in the future. Don't touch it. The spiritual ring has an artifact spirit, and this artifact spirit listens to the heavenly Lord's will. Any cultivator who touches the spiritual ring by force will be burned to death by the backlash. The power of chaos is extremely powerful. Just now, the stone monster was so powerful, but I could use the power of chaos to shackle it. This is a Tao artifact. Naturally, I won't touch it easily. I'll think of a way in the future. Maybe I can give the Hunyuan Divine Mirror a try." He thought that after Bai Ling followed Mu Chun to the heavenly Dipper realm, he would be able to solve the problem of the heavenly neck spiritual ring after returning. Who knew that he would be shackled by the spiritual ring of a Tao artifact? Bai Ling stroked the spiritual ring reluctantly and said, "Brother, this is a good treasure. I reckon that there are not many magical treasures in this small world that can compare to this heavenly neck spiritual ring. If I used this ring just now, the stone monster wouldn't even need to attack. Just the aura of the spiritual ring alone would be enough to shatter it. Even immortals would fall if they were hit. It's a pity that my power of chaos isn't enough, so I can't fully activate it. This spiritual ring gives me a strange feeling. I can't sense it. Forget it. I'll let it stay quietly in your body. When I become stronger, I'll go to the heavenly Dipper realm with you and go to the heavenly Lord's cave abode." After Su Fong smiled, he released the celestial light of the Tao artifact and turned it into space. Bai Ling released the stone monster into the light of the Tao artifact. The stone monster was no longer as arrogant as before. It was just like when it was on the 7 Stars Demon Island. It was terrified and uneasy. "Su Fong, hurry up and let me go. I could put in a good word for you in front of my master so that he won't kill you." Unexpectedly, Su Fong nodded. "I can let you go, brother." Bai Ling was very puzzled. Even exalted cultivator Yuezhen was surprised. How could they let the stone monster go? After the stone monster heard this, it immediately laughed. "Haha, you're a smart person. If you let me go, you won't have to offend the 7-star child. But I have a condition," Su Fong said cheerfully. This sentence undoubtedly poured cold water on the stone monster. I want to know all of the seven-star child secrets. You know that I don't have the strength to search your soul. If you're willing to release your primordial spirit and let me search your soul, I'll naturally let you go after knowing everything about the seven-star child. You're asking me to die. As expected, the stone monster was irritated again. Then there's nothing to talk about. Buzz. Suddenly, an ancient mirror covered the stone monster's head. A red light enveloped the stone monster. Su Fong sneered. I know you're still thinking of ways to release your aura or secretly contact the seven-star child. I won't give you any more chances. Now you only have one choice. Tell me everything about the seven-star child, and I won't kill you. The stone monster said gloomily, You still dare to offend the seven-star child? That's my business. If I know everything about him, I can avoid him. Whether you're willing to cooperate or not is also your business. What do you want to know? What's the relationship between the seven-star child, the Green Lotus Sword sect, and the realm lord of the Wu-Tan realm? The seven-star child had a very good relationship with the Wu-Tan realm more than 100,000 years ago, especially the realm lord. Coincidentally, the founder of the Green Lotus Sword sect was a disciple of the Wu-Tan realm's realm lord. Therefore, the seven-star child had been secretly protecting the Green Lotus Sword sect until he ascended. Chapter 782. After a moment of silence, Su Fong asked the stone golem, What methods did seven-star child use to deal with me? The stone golem seemed to be really afraid of Su Fong. He wanted to capture you and refine you into a second clone. He wanted to use you to obtain the Xinjia Gate. He planned to return to the outside world and offer it to some big shot. He knew you weren't easy to deal with, so he cooperated with the two immortals from the Green Lotus Sword sect. This time, he wanted me to attack the Immortal Sealing sect. On one hand, he promised Huang Lingyao that he would help her obtain the Immortal Sealing scripture from the Immortal Sealing sect. Everyone knows that I once cultivated in the Immortal Sealing sect. I'll still stay there. Seven-star child doesn't think so. He thinks that as long as you're in the Immortal Sealing sect, he'll destroy it. He really won't give his enemies any chance to live. Tell me about the two immortals from the Green Lotus Sword sect. One of them is Huang Yuran, an immortal from the Green Lotus Sword sect who ascended to the macro world about 50,000 years ago. He supports the Green Lotus Sword sect, and 20,000 years ago, he had the Green Lotus Sword sect attack, the spirit sect with the power he sent into the lower realm from the macro world in order to obtain the divine image Jade Annulus. The other immortal may look like a kid, but his name is Holly, and he is the strongest of the three. He also descended for the divine image Jade Annulus. Huang Yuran and Holly are in cahoots, and now there's seven-star child. They're really hard to deal with. What other secrets do you know about them? How could I know? The stone golem sighed. Because you invaded the seven-star demon island and destroyed everything, seven-star child no longer thinks highly of me. There are many things he doesn't want me to know. Hai Chung. Another Xinguang was released from exalted Master Yuezhan's palm. Lan Hai Chung, who was wrapped in a seal, appeared from the Xinguang. There were many traces of the seal, and she was filled with killing intent towards the stone golem. She immediately nodded at Su Fong without any expression. She was cold to the bone. I didn't expect you to save me again. Su Fong first took out a drop of immortal power and injected it into her body before letting her sit down. He said guiltily, If you hadn't followed me to Wu Tan Domain back then, today's matter wouldn't have happened. That's not right. If you really want to find right and wrong, then I shouldn't have listened to Huang Lingyao back then. I shouldn't have followed you to the Wu Tan realm and entered the seven-star demon island with you. Lan Haicheng was like a completely different person now. Back then, Blue Ocean City lived under the shadow of Huang Lingyao. They were submissive and had no opinions of their own. But now, they were in control of their own lives. She then said with relief, That's why I have to find out who's right and who's wrong. I'd rather regret meeting Huang Lingyao back then. All of this is in the past. In the hands of this stone monster, I've been tortured time and time again. I've already died 100 times, 1,000 times. How should we deal with the stone golems? Su Fong also felt relieved. He felt that Lan Haicheng's words were very reasonable. Do as you see fit. No, you have to deal with it. Furthermore, Everything about it is yours. It also seems to have a Tao item on it. The two of them spoke one after another. They were completely treating the stone golems as if they were just objects. The stone golems trembled. They felt a chill run through their bodies. Lan Haiqing's gaze suddenly froze. What a coincidence. Back then, I obtained the 7-star Child Rui's scepter, but it was taken back by him. Now I'm going to obtain another Tao item from him. Why not kill this monster? We can't let it go again. After saying that, he leapt up. Suddenly, the primeval sacred mirror's red light shackled the stone golems. Lan Haiqing's palm landed on the stone golem's head, but the backlash caused him to vomit blood. Ha ha, you lowly servant. Your body has long since been sealed. How can you still use your true chi to kill me? The stone golems struggled and cursed. Killing you isn't easy. Su Fong controlled the primeval sacred mirror, preventing the stone golems from releasing any of their aura. He then released the starlight sword, indicating for Lan Haiqing to use it. You monster, you tormented me day and night. I'll get you back one sword at a time. It seemed Lan Haiqing truly hated the stone golems from the bottom of his heart. He immediately slashed the starlight sword at the stone golem's left shoulder. Without using any divine abilities or sword chi, Lan Haiqing directly used the starlight sword to attack the stone golem's left shoulder. Swish! With another slash, the stone golem's left arm was completely severed. You stinking slave! I should have done you back then. The stone golem spat out black blood from its broken arm, and it cursed with its sharp teeth. Lan Haiqing once more slashed at the stone golem's right arm. This time, he only needed one slash to completely cut off the stone golem's right arm. Without any intention of stopping, he slashed at the stone golem's legs. After a few more slashes, the stone golem's arms and legs were gone. All that was left were its head and body. Lan Haiqing was still filled with resentment, and he continued to slash at the stone golems. The stone golems' bodies were covered in fallen stones and black blood. They had been cursing before, but now that its head had been cut off, it could no longer roar. It wasn't until it had turned into a pile of bloody stones that Lan Haiqing's body went limp, and he sat on the ground, silently weeping. Haiqing, from now on, your life is your own. Huang Lingyao won't be able to decide it, and the stone golems won't be able to control it. 7-star Child will also be killed by me in the future. He helped Lan Haiqing up and comforted him. Sit down. I'll undo the seal on your body. Once the seal is gone, 7-star Child will no longer be able to sense your existence. At the same time, he sealed the stone golem's corpses into a ball. This energy was something he needed to absorb. It took a while for Lan Haiqing to calm down. He sat down and received Su Fong's Xianguang. When the Xianguang entered his body, a shocking defensive chain immediately appeared, preventing it from entering. Su Fong immediately poured his own energy into the seal. After a few tries, the seal collapsed under Su Fong's hand seals. There was a seal on Lan Haiqing's yang soul. It was the most fatal seal. Fortunately, this seal was controlled by the stone golems, so it wasn't too powerful. Otherwise, if the stone golems activated it, Lan Haiqing would be in trouble. Adding on the fact that the stone golems were under Su Fong's control, there was no way they could activate the seal on Lan Haiqing's yang soul. Activating the heavenly devil unsealing seal, a large amount of yang souls separated and surrounded the seal on Lan Haiqing's yang soul. Inside the seal were countless stone golems. They could explode and kill Lan Haiqing's yang soul at any moment. Su Fong immediately had his yang soul use the heavenly devil sound. This was a kind of formless sound wave attack. As expected, after a while, the heavenly devil sound scattered the seal on the stone golem's yuan souls. Who could compare to Su Fong in terms of yuan souls? Perhaps only immortals and world overlords could compare to him. Many thanks. Lan Haiqing opened his eyes. His body swayed a few times. Whoosh! Su Fong waved his hand, and an empty bag flew out from the stone golem's corpse. After searching for a while, there was indeed a Tao artifact inside. Its quality was average, but its appearance was very suitable for Lan Haiqing. It was a jade green bracelet. After fusing with the bracelet, it could increase a cultivator's vital energy by several times. It could be used for both offense and defense. This Tao artifact was indeed good. Lan Haicheng gladly accepted all the treasures of the stone golems. He began to devour the resources in the heavenly ship to fuse with the Tao artifact. Bai Ling and Su Fong chatted for a while. Su Fong began to gather the stone golem's fragments. He released the illusory fire cloud. Waves of fire cloud, immortal fire enveloped the stone golem's fragments and began to incinerate them. The battle with Prince Shui did not consume much vital energy. I estimate that after I devour the stone golems, I will be able to step into feather transformation stage 2. In order to speed up the fusion, Su Fong also activated his innate power, the Earth Divine Power from the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda. With the help of the illusory fire cloud, the stone golem's fragments began to turn into liquid. From liquid, they turned into special earth spiritual energy. Master, we still have to return to the Zhuotian realm. Half a year later, when exalted Yuezhan saw that Su Fong was about to refine most of the stone golems into spiritual energy, he came to the side and asked cautiously, "Of course, to the Zhuotian realm. Sheng Changsheng. Sheng Changsheng has my purple chi spirit in his body. This treasure cannot be lost in the hands of anyone. Moreover, when I return to the Zhuotian realm, I want to see who obtained the Xinjia gate in the end." After Su Fong finished speaking, he continued to refine the stone golems. When it was almost a year, the Zhuotian realm could be seen with the naked eye. Although it was only the size of a bowl, it would probably take another year to return to the Zhuotian realm. It's finally refined. His innate power and the illusory fire cloud suddenly disappeared. What floated in front of Su Fong were no longer stone golems or fragments, but a sphere of spiritual energy that was at least 3 meters tall. There's actually a large amount of the Wu-Tan realm's spiritual energy. He unexpectedly smiled and began to cut a large number of wounds on his body. Then, he let those wounds absorb the stone golem's spiritual energy. The spiritual energy turned into a large amount of spiritual energy and was absorbed by the wounds. Su Fong's meridians and true energy were trembling and roaring. The power of the Nine Yang began to madly fuse with the spiritual energy, and his true energy continued to rise. The Wu-Tan realm's spiritual energy poured into the 9 Yang meridians and slowly sank into the river of stars in the center of the Yang meridians. Each Yang meridian contained a river of stars, and after having 9 Yang meridians, he had stepped into the first transformation of the 9 Yang meridians. Now that the 9 Yang meridians were connected, they formed a cycle of spiritual energy that allowed Su Fong to cultivate at all times. During this process, Su Fong also cultivated the Blood Hell Wolf Smoke, Heavenly Devil Scripture, Sage Emperor God Origin Scripture, and other energy arts and mental cultivation techniques. Another half a year passed. A fierce aura burst out from Su Fong's body. Su Fong was pleasantly surprised and immediately slowed down the heavenly ship. He flew out of the heavenly ship alone and found a larger meteorite. He immediately set up a formation and began to face the tribulation. Soon, the tribulation of the feather transformation realm arrived. This kind of tribulation was no threat to Su Fong at all. After all, his strength was only at level 1 of the feather transformation realm. It turned out that by absorbing the stone golem's power, his cultivation had reached the peak of level 1. He was about to break through to level 2 of the feather transformation realm. The tribulation came from the river of stars and silently gathered. Su Fong let the undying turtle appear. After a while, the first tribulation of the feather transformation realm arrived. It was formed by lightning and fire. He sent half of the tribulation into the undying turtle's mouth. Soon, rolling flames appeared in the undying turtle's body. Although it was an old turtle and had a huge body, it was still somewhat painful to deal with the sudden tribulation. However, it was more than happy to control the tribulation to sweep through every corner of its body. It could now completely control the meridians and flesh of its body, allowing the tribulation to absorb it. After a while, Su Fong also broke through the tribulation and began to welcome the transformation of his body. When it was over, his body was at level 2 of the feather transformation realm. He felt that the world was different. No matter if it was his physical body or strength, it was twice as strong as level 1. His overall strength increased, and his complete ability was also transforming. I think I still can't deal with immortals. However, with my current strength, I can definitely defeat experts like Sorcerer Heian. I might not be able to deal with a Sector Lord. After settling down for a while, the undying turtle disappeared. Su Fong returned to the heavenly ship and continued to absorb immortal spiritual qi from the mini-universe fairy flask. He absorbed some for himself and also let Exalted Master Yuezhan cultivate. Chapter 783. Zhuotian Realm. After almost 3 years, Su Fong finally returned. He and Bai Ling floated in front of the world barrier. As for Exalted Master Yuezhan and Lan Haicheng, they were temporarily cultivating in the small heaven and earth immortal pot. Bai Ling looked at Su Fong. Brother, we are going to snatch the Xinjia Gate. Don't even think about the Xinjia Gate. That kind of Dao artifact is too domineering. Which immortal can forcefully take it? Let's go to the immortal ceiling sect first and look for Sheng Changsheng. Su Fong's goal was very clear. What Xinjia Gate? That kind of Dao artifact was too shocking. He was probably the one who understood this Dao artifact the most. Even if 100 or 1,000 immortals descended, they would not be able to forcefully take the Xinjia Gate. The world barrier has been weakened by more than half, and it is still being affected by the fluctuations. The moment he stepped into the world barrier, he felt the world barrier weakening continuously, and the energy was out of balance. Entering the Zhuotian realm, it was actually a terrifying shockwave. However, he saw many cultivators escaping from the Zhuotian realm from different directions. Among these cultivators, Su Fong recognized many of them. Most of them were disciples of the past forces. It was likely that these forces would temporarily leave the Zhuotian realm to avoid this calamity. When he was in midair and could see the crimson nimbus continent in the midst of the shockwave, before he could get any closer, a look of surprise suddenly appeared in his eyes. He happened to encounter a force that flew into the sky. There were about tens of thousands of people, and most of them were female disciples. It was not the twin immortal sect, but the Zuan Pavilion, the great forces of the snow wind continent. Bai Ling turned to the side. What's wrong? Could it be that you thought of Xiao Mei? Su Fong nodded calmly. You are right. I came back to the Zhuotian realm this time because I want to see Xiao Mei. At least, I want to ensure her safety and let her leave this troublesome place temporarily. Thinking back to back then, I also felt that I should help. The number of acquaintances who came here in the past can be counted on one hand. I can't believe that little fox Dao Wuliang, right? I forgot about that little fox Dao Wuliang. Since I came back this time, I might as well take Dao Zhan Fox and the Sky Drill Rat Emperor. Let's see what other demons are in this small world. Su Fong pounded his fists. Sister Bai's reminder is timely. Since we're here, let's go meet these people. He immediately activated his great perfection ability and sensed Xiao Mei-er's aura among the Zuan Pavilion disciples. In just a few breaths of time, there was a result. Among these tens of thousands of disciples, there was no Xiao Mei-er's aura. After eavesdropping for a while, he found out that the Zuan Pavilion was evacuating the Zhuotian realm in batches. Currently, more than half of the disciples in the Zuan Pavilion in the Snow Wind Continent were preparing to leave the Zuan Pavilion. They planned to stay at Planet Chilian. Planet Chilian was relatively desolate and suitable for refuge. It seemed like Xiao Mei was at the Zuan Pavilion. Bai Ling transformed into his true form with Su Fong sitting on his back. With Bai Ling's leaping speed that was comparable to shuttling through a magical door, they quickly arrived at a low altitude and were about to cross over the incomparably familiar Crimson Nimbus Continent. Like a flash of lightning, they escaped into the Crimson Nimbus Continent. Due to the shockwaves formed by the battle between the immortals, many territories in the periphery of the Crimson Nimbus Continent were turned into dust. Trees, rocks, and dust were swept away by the shockwaves. The only thing that could be seen here was a tragic scene like the end of the world. Buzz. There were also many forces and cultivators fleeing from the Crimson Nimbus continent. When Su Fong and Bai Ling were about to brush past these people, they suddenly approached the territory of the Celestial Sealing Sect. A group of about 100 people made Su Fong feel something. The white light strangely escaped through the void and appeared in front of these cultivators. Who is it? Most of these cultivators were in the undead realm or the undead realm. Only a portion of them were in the catastrophe realm. To Su Fong, they were just ordinary cultivators. The other party saw Su Fong riding on the crane ferry and intercepting them in the air. Many cultivators were startled and summoned their magic treasures and rushed out. Be careful, don't casually attack. At this time, several cultivators who had reached the catastrophe realm appeared. After they gave the order, they turned around and saw Su Fong. They were so frightened that they broke out in cold sweat. Truly an acquaintance. Su Fong smiled in surprise. Su Fong. The leader was a young and handsome man. This person was like a block of wood. His eyes were dazed. Su Fong said, Chi Yuan Ao, Qin Fong, I did not come to find you or deal with you. My enemies are Prince Shue's group. Right? Where is Senior Gu Venerable? So it turned out, these people were from the Gu King Valley in the past. Chi Yuan Ao and Qin Fong were disciples of the Celestial Sealing Sect, especially Chi Yuan Ao. He was an elite of the Celestial Sealing Sect. The two recognized Su Fong at a glance and naturally knew who Su Fong was. They were shocked, but after hearing Su Fong's words, their expressions gradually recovered. Oh, at this time, a thin and short young man suddenly appeared under the greetings of many people. He was surprised to see Su Fong. Su Fong was even more shocked. Senior Gu Venerable. It is me, so it's you. The young cultivator looked the same as the young man. He was not tall, but his aura was faint. He smiled. I don't know you. I just broke through my bottleneck not long ago and became younger. But you, Su Fong, your name is like thunder in Zhuotian world. I thought I would never see you again. To think that you would have such achievements and still remember me. It was really Gu Venerable. Su Fong secretly used his perfect vision. He could not see through Gu Venerable before, but it was different now. In an instant, he saw Gu Venerable's body. In his meridians, there were hundreds of Gu worms hibernating. And in his dantian, where the golden core was, there was a golden Gu worm, but there was no golden core. It was indeed Gu Venerable. He was the same as Su Fong, a phantom. When they first saw Gu Venerable, Su Fong and Dao Wu Liang were shocked. Not only was he mysterious and unfathomable, his ability was also shocking. Using Gu worms to cultivate. Was he an ordinary cultivator? Gu Venerable said calmly, I was shackled in Grand Tribulation Realm for over 2,000 years. Only now did I break through the shackles and step into Transformation Feather Realm, regaining my youth. Senior is extraordinary. Using Gu worms to cultivate. Your body is filled with Gu worms, especially using Gu worms as the source of your strength. Senior is one of a kind in this world. You saw through my body in an instant. Gu Venerable was shocked. Chi Yuan Ao, Qin Fong, and the rest were also in disbelief. After a while, Gu Venerable waved his hand. Don't call me senior anymore. I have cultivated for thousands of years. I could be your senior in terms of time, but you have completely surpassed me, be it strength or knowledge. I am Gu Venerable. Venerable, where are you going? Su Fong flashed from Bai Ling's back and arrived in front of Gu Venerable, cupping his fists in front of everyone. Gu Venerable sighed. You also know that some experts attacked Immortal Sealing Sect a while ago. Now that Immortal Sealing Sect is gone and the building has collapsed, Chi Yuan Ao, Qin Fong, and the rest only barely managed to return to Gu King Valley alive. Right now, most of Zhuotian world's forces have started to evacuate. I have to bring these people to find a place to hide. I see. Venerable, you're the first friend I, Su Fong, met after stepping into Crimson Heaven Continent. If Venerable has no plans, you can follow me and establish yourself in this small world. Right now, I have already fused with a small world that is the legendary Mortal Emperor world. Venerable can definitely strengthen mortal Emperor world with me. I'm also a phantom. I believe with Venerable's talent, you will definitely surpass most cultivators in the future. You have fused with mortal Emperor world. Oh, Gu Venerable involuntarily exclaimed. The other surrounding cultivators were also in disbelief. In their eyes, Su Fong had already become a supreme expert. He could kill everyone here with just a finger. After learning that he had fused with mortal Emperor world, he had already become an existence like a supreme realm lord. Su Fong's body suddenly became infinitely majestic in front of these people. Gu Venerable immediately looked at the surrounding cultivators and immediately pounded his fists. All right, Gu Venerable, joined Immortal Sealing Sect back then, thinking that I would have a future, but in the end, my golden core was left in Immortal Sealing Sect, Su Fong. Since you don't mind, I will bring these people to your mortal Emperor world. Why would I mind? In fact, I welcome you. Venerable, you can enter my treasure space with everyone. There is immortal spirit chi inside. Venerable can cultivate inside and condense an immortal spirit body. We are phantoms. We can achieve miracles that other cultivators can't. Saying so, Su Fong released a mystical door with a mysterious yellow luster. Gu Venerable nodded and waved his arm without hesitation, bringing Qi Yuan Ao, Qin Feng, and the rest in a single file. Xianwang's 6 paths pagoda space. Su Fong's will appeared, Gu Venerable, Qi Yuan Ao, and the rest appeared beside him. Arriving at this treasure space, everyone was shocked. How is this a treasure? They could not feel any shackles. Su Fong created a barrier for Gu King Valley's people to cultivate. After a while, after settling everyone down, Su Fong called Qi Yuan Ao was a mortal sealing sect now. After you fought with Prince Shui and left, the immortals immediately attacked the sect. Ling Mu Bai brought the 6 children of immortal sealing sect and the other higher-ups. They released their Dao artifacts and used their sect protecting spirit beasts to fight against the immortals. In the end, the spirit beasts were killed, the higher-ups were heavily injured, and countless disciples died under the immortals' attacks. In the end, the leader led a portion of the higher-ups and abandoned most of the disciples, escaping in time. Qi Yuan Ao sighed. There were over 300,000 disciples, but in the end, only a few tens of thousands survived. Now, they're all escaping in all directions. Su Fong asked again, do you know the whereabouts of Sheng Changsheng, one of the 3 Venerable Path disciples? Sheng Changsheng is a Venerable Path disciple. I have no contact with him. But I heard that Huang Lingyao betrayed the sect, and Prince Shui openly betrayed the sect with the Crown Prince faction. Since you left Sheng Changsheng, this person is very likely to be with the higher-ups of the sect. Cultivate well here. We will return to mortal Emperor world after some time. Then we'll return to the main body. Su Fong and Bai Ling immediately flew towards Immortal Sealing Sect. After concealing their auras, in a few breaths' time, the two arrived above the ruins of Immortal Sealing Sect's former Dao field. There was not a single person. Only some bodies were buried deep in the ruins. They immediately spread out their senses to see if there were any living cultivators, but there was not a single one. Immortal Sealing Sect's Dao field's origin aura had also completely disappeared here. Let's go to Snow Wind Continent. The two quickly disappeared again. While traveling, Su Fong sent his will to Dao Wuliang. After a while, unexpectedly, Dao Wuliang responded. Su Fong asked him to meet him at Zuan's Pavilion, and they would have a good talk after meeting. Half an incense sticks time. Snow Wind Continent. The entire continent was under the impact of the shock wave. Snow filled the sky, and some trees and stones were also wrapped in it. Snow Wind Continent was also gradually being destroyed by the shock wave. When he arrived at Zuan Pavilion's Dao field, he did not expect that part of Zuan Pavilion's Dao field had also been destroyed. Clearly, it had also been attacked by experts. Fortunately, Zuan Pavilion's foundation was stronger than Immortal Sealing Sect's. Otherwise, this Dao field would have already been turned into ruins. He quickly sensed Xiao Mayor's aura. Indeed, she was in the depths of Zuan Pavilion's Dao field. After waiting for a while, two demonic figures quickly flew over from another direction. Their speed was in front of Su Fong, and they were only at the Ascension Transformation Realm. It was much slower than teleportation. Within the demonic aura was Dao Wu Liang and Shu Shuai. Chapter 784. Bai Ling glanced at them and said casually, "These two little beasts are only at the middle level of the feather transformation realm. Little brother, these little beasts won't be able to help you. In fact, it's not that big of a deal. That little mouse hasn't been very friendly to you." "I know." Su Fong stepped forward and told Bai Ling not to say too much. Dao Wuliang was the first to speak. Just like before, he said, "Boss, you finally contacted us. Ever since we fought with the immortal toad in the old immortal cave palace, we have been recuperating and cultivating. It's all thanks to you guys. Unfortunately, the immortal toad escaped." After exchanging some pleasantries and secretly checking Dao Wuliang and Shu Shuai's strength, Su Fong was also preparing. Dao Wuliang and Shu Shuai didn't know that Su Fong had broken into the Xinjia Gate for the second time and stirred up trouble. "This time, I asked you guys to come because I have something to discuss with you." After a while, Su Fong, Dao Wuliang, and Shu Shuai came to the forest. The sky above was full of shock waves. This time, many immortals came down to snatch the Xinjia Gate. You guys saw it. Zhuotian Realm's continents are probably affected. I control a world now and have countless experts under me. Go back and tell Senior Hu Mu and Senior Tian Zhuan that it's best if they can go to my small world to cultivate. This is my own wish. If the two seniors don't want to, then forget it. But if Senior Hu Mu and Shu Shuai don't want to, it's fine." At first, the two small demons were happy, but after hearing Su Fong's words, their expressions changed. "You and I met in Nanjiang. Although you're a demon, I've always treated you as a friend. If you follow me, you'll definitely surpass any big goblin. If you continue to stay in this small world, I don't know how many tens of thousands of years it'll take for you to ascend. It's not easy for demons to cultivate. Otherwise, Dao Wuliang would have already ascended after 20,000 years." Su Fong's tone was still calm, especially when he looked at Dao Wuliang. "I'm just giving you a suggestion. Zhuotian Realm might disappear soon. Maybe I won't come back here, and it'll be hard for us to meet again. You and I can do what we did when we broke into the Crimson Sky continent from Nanjiang and go to a bigger world." Dao Wuliang immediately replied, "I need to think about it. And I'm going to take care of a few things first. Let me know when you're done." In the end, Su Fong left Sun Li alone and met up with Bai Ling in the sky. He quickly flew to the Zuin Pavilion. Su Fong used his great fulfillment ability to see Dao Wuliang's thoughts. However, he heard Shu Shuai's anger boil. This person really thinks he's something. What's the meaning of this? He's clearly looking down on our demon clan. Does he think he could be so arrogant just because he has some strength? The Zhuotian realm will not tolerate his impudence. Back then, when you were suppressed by him, I reminded you to think of a way to kill him. Now that you have such strength, it's already too late for you to kill him. Back then, he chased the old toad immortal out of the Zhuotian realm. Even my grandfather would find it difficult to do that. Brother, don't hesitate anymore. He's a human, and it's impossible for him to be a family with us demons. We eat raw meat and drink blood, while humans hunt our own kind. We can never be friends." Shu Shuai kept talking nonstop. Dao Wuliang did not say anything. However, to Su Fong, he seemed to have seen through Dao Wuliang's choice. In short, he was Dao Wuliang's friend, which was why he went straight to the point. As for how he would choose, Su Fong could not control it. Zuin Pavilion. At this moment, a large amount of snowstorms formed under the impact, covering the entire Zuin Pavilion's training hall. The entire training hall's enchantment had lost its defensive ability. Su Fong and Bai Ling, who had transformed into a human, hid their auras and teleported directly across the many mountains and training halls inside the Zuin Pavilion's training hall. Heartless Granny's aura. Su Fong sensed Xiao, Mayor's aura, and continued to track her. He also sensed a familiar and powerful aura. Heartless Granny. Of course, he also sensed the entire Zuin Pavilion's experts. There were more than 10 experts like Heartless Granny. In other words, the Celestial Sealing sect had the 6 disciples of Celestial Sealing, but the Zuin Pavilion had more than 10 experts like the 6 disciples of Celestial Sealing. Heartless Granny was only one of them. How did this old woman chase me back then? He smirked. He thought of the time when he was publicly chased by the Celestial Sealing sect, when he fled to the Zuin Pavilion and insisted on seeing Xiao Mei. He was chased by Heartless Granny all the way. He felt very uncomfortable. In the past, he wanted to skin Heartless Granny alive, but now he just wanted to teach her a lesson. Heartless Granny was no longer his opponent. Su Fong had been to the Zuin Pavilion several times. Once, he followed Master Wang Yuan to Xiao Mei-er's cultivation cave. Combining his senses and memories, he quickly arrived at Wang Yuan's training hall again. Xiao Mei-er's aura was on the verge of leaking out from inside. Now, she was also a master. She was a master who betrayed Su Fong and secretly summoned by the Xinjia Gate. Heaven was playing with people who knew that when leaving the Xinjia Gate, the so-called secret was no longer useful. Last time, Zuin Pavilion had sent many disciples to secretly enter the Xinjia Gate, but one less came back. This was greed, and insatiable greed. Wang Yuan's training hall's barrier was like playing house in front of Su Fong. After passing through the barriers, he saw Wang Yuan with some female disciples in the center of the cave, counting resources. It seemed that the Zuin Pavilion was really planning to abandon this training hall. He flashed to another barrier and finally saw Xiao Mei is sitting cross-legged in the depths. Separated by layers of barriers, he seemed to have returned to the Zhao Imperial Palace. He turned into a little eunuch and looked at Xiao Mei, who was the emperor's concubine, from afar. She was still so mysterious and moving. However, for some reason, Su Fong's heart ached. This woman in front of him had been lingering in his heart since that time. Bai Ling saw that Su Fong didn't say anything for a long time and squeezed his arm. "Brother, go. If you want to say something, say it clearly. Don't be sloppy." He suddenly took a step forward. The layers of barriers were almost useless to him. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of the cave where Xiao Mei was cultivating. "Who is it?" There were 2 female disciples guarding the cave entrance. They were only low-level catastrophe realm. When they saw Su Fong suddenly appear, the 2 girls were so scared that they screamed. The 2 girls saw that Su Fong wasn't from Zuin Pavilion. After they screamed, they immediately burst out with their auras and grabbed their magic treasures. They trembled as they stared at Su Fong's every move. Whoosh! A beautiful figure flashed out of the cave entrance. It was Xiao Mei. She was wearing the master's feather token and a layer of silver gauze. She was wrapped in tight clothes. There was a fierce and heroic spirit in her beauty. Ru Yu's brows furrowed. She was startled and said indifferently, "How familiar. Have we met before?" Su Fong couldn't help but tremble. "Mei, you don't recognize me. I'm now focusing on a great Tao and have forgotten the past. If you're really someone I knew in the past, then I really don't know you. However, I still feel that you are somewhat familiar." Xiao Mei replied coldly and ordered the 2 disciples to retreat. "This is the core forbidden area of Zuin Pavilion. Please leave. Otherwise, Mei, you really don't recognize me." Su Fong couldn't believe it and asked again. The latter shook her head. "I'm sorry. Although I am familiar with you, I have forgotten. Please leave." Whoosh! Whoosh! A few figures flashed over from the other side of the barrier. It was Wang Yuan. As soon as she appeared and saw Su Fong, she was so shocked that she almost screamed. She ordered the disciples to quickly surround him. Wang Yuan came to Xiao Mei-er's side and sized her up. Then she shouted at Su Fong, "Su Fong, you dare to barge into my Zuin Pavilion's training hall." Su Fong stood with his hands behind his back. "You came at the right time. Wang Yuan, I just want to know what happened to Mei. Why doesn't she have any memories of the past?" Wang Yuan looked as if she was facing a great enemy. Ever since the last incident, Mei has been cleansed by the elders again and again. After becoming a master, she has cultivated the clear heart art. She can't remember the past clearly. Don't have any ideas about Mei and leave. You should know that you are my Zuin Pavilion's enemy. Wang Yuan, Do you think I'm still the same cultivator from the past? You should know my current strength. May has become like this not because of the marrow cleansing. Her young nascent soul must have been affected by some unforeseen event. That's why she doesn't have any memories of the past. At this time, Su Fong was like an old man who had experienced the vicissitudes of life. He was unmoved. The last time I came to Zuan Pavilion, I questioned her in front of countless Zuan Pavilion disciples. I felt that something was wrong with May because she wouldn't betray me. I've always been very confused about this point. Now, it seems that Zuan Pavilion is unscrupulous. In order to obtain the secret of the Xinjia Gate from May, they used methods such as soul-searching and hypnotizing her young nascent soul to make her reveal my secret. Then, they cleansed her young nascent soul and erased her memories of the past. Nonsense! I, as a great power, would do such a despicable thing. Wang Yuan was trembling and uneasy when she heard this, but she still denied it. Suddenly, even Xiao Mayer asked Wang Yuan, "Senior sister, has the sect ever controlled my young nascent soul? I feel that he's very familiar, but I can't remember." Wang Yuan didn't know how to answer this question. After 2 breaths, Wang Yuan suddenly shook her head. "Junior sister, I'm sorry. I'm the sect master. Everything I do is for the sect. I can't go against the sect's rules." "Go!" She activated the feather token at her waist. "Brother, let her inform the entire Zuan Pavilion like this. I think we should just take Sister Mayer away." At this time, Bai Ling leaped over. Wang Yuan protected Xiao Mei and ordered the other disciples. "Everyone, don't do anything. Use this barrier to trap these 2 people. The sect's experts will immediately rush over." Su Fong didn't say anything, as if he was waiting for something. In less than 3 breaths, a dense crowd of people appeared in the sky, surrounding the training hall so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Someone had come. It wasn't just one person, but countless experts from Zuan Pavilion. It felt as if a large net had been thrown at Su Fong, making it hard for him to breathe. Buzz! The barrier around the training hall suddenly disappeared. A familiar old woman holding a cane appeared with a large number of Zuan Pavilion's elders and higher-ups. Countless experts had already released their auras, forming a shackled barrier that completely enveloped the space. "It's really Su Fong." Elder Zhang Sun Ying was extremely shocked. The other higher-ups also rubbed their eyes to see if they had seen wrongly. Heartless Granny suddenly waved her cane. Her deep and proud eyes looked as if she wanted to kill Su Fong directly. "Brat, I've been looking for you everywhere. I didn't expect you to deliver yourself to me. Today, no matter what, you can't escape like last time." However, even though Heartless Granny was so confident, the higher-ups behind her, as well as countless disciples, all knew that Su Fong had been in the limelight recently. With such an expert causing trouble in the Zhuotian realm, no one could remain calm. Facing the countless experts from Zuan Pavilion, Su Fong stood with his hands behind his back. "Old woman, I have to thank you. Is it difficult to thank an old woman like me? Are you thanking me for killing you?" Heartless Granny was shocked. Su Fong smiled calmly. "You're right. I have to thank you for killing me that day. If you hadn't forced me into a dead end, I, Su Fong, wouldn't have reached where I am today. With my current strength, I wouldn't have been able to openly appear in front of you. Don't you think I should thank you?" The author's words. "I've been very busy recently. I've mainly been writing Jiuzhan, and sometimes I've also been writing Miracle too. In short, it's been very tiring. Most authors only update twice a day, but I've been updating 3 times a day for the past few years. The most important thing is perseverance, and I'll continue to persevere. In September, my friends and students will return to school. I hope that everyone's grades will continue to rise in the new semester and continue to persevere silently like me." Chapter 785. If that's the case, you might have to thank me again. Why? Because I'm going to kill you again today. You're confident that you can kill me. I've overestimated you. You won't have the chance to thank me again because you'll definitely die in my hands this time. An old woman with 1 foot in the grave was definitely not used to describe Heartless Granny. Although she looked old and had 1 foot in the coffin, Her murderous gaze was intimidating. Even the disciples of the Zhuan Pavilion were so scared that they couldn't breathe. All the disciples of the Zhuan Pavilion were waiting for her orders. Su Fong and Bai Ling were like fat meat that had fallen into a pack of wolves. Their eyes were filled with greed, and they couldn't wait to snatch the food. Old woman, you're still as arrogant as before. Zhuan Pavilion's reputation has long been tarnished. Not only did you go to the southern border to capture my clansmen, but you also killed countless of my family members. In the end, you used my family members to threaten me. Su Fong's face suddenly became angry. I originally planned to only take Meir away today, but it seems that I can't. The enmity of that year must be settled now. If the experts of the Zhuan Pavilion really have the guts to step forward, I can let the other disciples of the Zhuan Pavilion go. I, Su Fong, have killed countless people, but I only kill my enemies. Who are you threatening? Zhang Sun Ying suddenly stood up. As an elder, he was superior to others. My Zhuan Pavilion's disciples can be frightened by an ignorant junior like you. Haha, so what if I tell you the truth? Back then, I, Zhang Sun Ying, was the main instigator of the massacre of your clansmen. I directly led my disciples across the dark forest and into the southern border, slaughtering your clansmen until their blood flowed like a river. As an elder of a righteous faction, you're respected by tens of thousands of people in the Zhuan Pavilion. What's the difference between your actions and those of an evil sect? Brat, that's why you're ignorant. Doesn't the mortal realm often say that a general's success is built on thousands of bones? If my Zhuan Pavilion wants to be strong and become a #1 faction in the Zhuotian realm, we must obtain the Xinjia Gate. Moreover, we must obtain it. For this reason, killing your clansmen are ants. What a great elder, what a great righteous faction. Such evil deeds, such viciousness, yet you still speak in such a dignified manner. You're obviously bullying a junior cultivator like me. After hearing this, Su Fong's true. Su Fong. What nonsense. Zhang Suning pressed on step by step. He had already signaled for the experts to gradually surround them. Su Fong looked at Xiao Mei again. I now believe that you definitely didn't betray me back then. It was Zhuan Pavilion who forcefully searched your soul and stripped your memories to obtain everything I experienced in the Xinjia Gate. So it turns out that I also harmed you. Countless disciples looked at Xiao Mei. It seemed that some people still didn't know the relationship between Su Fong and Xiao Mei. Heartless Grandma suddenly grabbed her cane. Xiao Mei is a disciple of my sect. The sect has the right to do anything to her. The sect's strength is also the mission of every disciple. What does this count as? Su Fong instantly looked at the old woman and Zhang Sun Ying. My Su Fong will not kill unrelated people today. Who else dares to stand out like Zhang Sun Ying and heartless Grandma to take revenge? I will only kill those despicable and shameless people who harm my clansmen and use my clansmen. How can my Zhuan Pavilion be threatened by you? Everyone, listen up. It's best to suppress this unfilial son. Heartless Grandma ordered Zhang Sun Ying and the other experts. Join hands and form seals to activate the formation. Bai Ling's demonic aura and spiritual energy exploded. Brother, I really can't stand it anymore. These Zhuan Pavilion disciples are shameless. Each one is more despicable and shameless than the other. They are colluding with each other. Zhang Sun Ying. Su Fong suddenly locked onto Zhang Sun Ying, who was leading a large number of experts and beginning to form seals at the top. With a roar, Su Fong suddenly flashed. With this flash, Bai Ling also spat out a burst of flames, which boiled up. Reckless. Zhang Sun Ying frowned and sneered. Puffed. But, as soon as he said those words, Su Fong appeared in the sky, and a large number of Zhuan Pavilion's experts came to the center. A white sword suddenly flashed and pierced through Zhang Sun Ying's chest. Zhang Sun Ying was an elder, but he was pierced by a flying sword in the blink of an eye. Before the surrounding experts could do anything, Zhang Sun Ying's body curled up, and he knelt down, groaning. With another poof, the flying sword completely pierced through Zhang Sun Ying's body and returned to Su Fang's hand. The Starry Daylight Sword was a peerless flying sword that could kill without a trace. Zhang Suning, don't worry. This sword cannot kill an elder like you. I don't want to kill you so easily either. If you want to die, it will be very easy. With the blood-stained Starry Daylight Sword in his hand, Su Fang looked at the surrounding experts who were frightened. Today, whoever dares to stop me will be courting death. Whoosh! With that said, the heaven-defying Starry Daylight Sword in his hand flew out again. Defend, defend! Attack, attack! The terror of the Starry Daylight Sword had shocked the dozens of experts. Seeing that the Starry Daylight Sword had disappeared without a trace, they were in a mess. Some said it was for defense, while others said it was for attack. Swish, 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 in a breath's time, several cultivators nearby were beheaded by a beam of light. As soon as the beam of light passed, the heads flew up and rolled in the air. Blood spurted out from the headless bodies. Flowers of blood, foam of blood, and the smell of blood were everywhere. Those who had their heads cut off were all giants who had reached the peak of the feather transformation realm. Some of them were close to the fairy realm. Retreat! The real experts of the celestial sealing gate could no longer sit still. Heartless Granny and a few other powerful old antiques led the elders to give the order. The experts surrounding Su Fang quickly retreated, but there were already dozens of corpses left behind. Su Fang was not going to show any mercy. Since the hands of these people were stained with the blood of his people and innocent people, there was no need for him to be polite. Only now do you know how to run? You humans are even more despicable than us demons. Another giant expert, Bai Ling, flew up angrily and spat out that strange black flame. It chased after the experts behind the Zuan Pavilion and burned them. Anyone who touched them would be immediately surrounded by fire. Their defense was completely useless. That black flame was as terrifying as that of a fairy. Don't leave. At this moment, Su Fang was not chasing to kill. Instead, he flashed and blocked the path of Wang Yuan, Xiao Mei, and dozens of other disciples who were about to fly away. In fact, Su Fang wanted to capture the heavily injured Zhang Suning. This person deserved to die 100 times, 1,000 times. But he did not want Xiao Mei to disappear in front of him. Wang Yuan was completely intimidated by Su Fang's words. What are you doing? Wang Yuan, take your disciples and leave. Mei wants to stay. Su Fang ignored Wang Yuan. Only Xiao Mei existed. Mei, I know you can't remember what happened in the past, but Zuan Pavilion's despicable actions have been acknowledged by them. Even if you don't remember me, you shouldn't stay in this kind of sect and continue cultivating. Furthermore, Zuan Pavilion has also hurt you. Wang Yuan struggled and trembled. Mei, let's go. We can't be a traitor to the sect. Senior sister, Xiao Mei hesitated. You can't be a traitor. Wang Yuan, was once your master. If you choose to do this, then I, Wang Yuan, will also become a traitor. You can't be a traitor. Mei, if you do this, you will trap me in an unjust and disloyal place. Pow! As a result, just as Wang Yuan finished speaking, a slap landed on her face. This slap caused Wang Yuan to see stars. Blood flowed out of her 7 orifices. She was in a sorry state and covered her face in pain. She was so scared that she didn't dare to look at Su Fang. Su Fang looked at his right hand. This slap was very satisfying. Men definitely couldn't hit women. But for some reason, Su Fang didn't feel the slightest bit of guilt after this slap. Instead, all the blood in his body flowed smoothly, making him feel very uncomfortable. He immediately pointed at Wang Yuan. As a teacher, are you really a teacher? You think Mayor wants to drag you down? You think Mayor should listen to you? At this time, you, as a senior, as a teacher, still don't think about Mayor. You wish you could immediately get rid of this relationship. You still haven't felt the slightest bit of shame. How can I hit you? You deserve it. I hit you comfortably, and I'm also slapping you for Mayor. Stop hitting me. Mayor suddenly came in front of Wang Yuan and silently shook her head. Senior sister, no, master, thank you for taking care of me all these years. It's not that Mayor doesn't want to go with you. It's just that I want to find my past. The matter between the sect and Su Fang Everything was clear just now. I don't want to live in a daze for the rest of my life, nor do I want to be deceived by the sect for the rest of my life. Wang Yuan was so angry that she shouted coldly, Xiao Mei, if you choose like this, then you will be a traitor to my sect from now on. When we meet again in the future, you and I will be enemies. Su Fong disdainfully said, could it be that Zuan Pavilion is really the only cultivation place in the world? Wang Yuan, if you and the disciples of Zuan Pavilion can survive until now, then you will know what the future will be like. Scram, don't provoke me again, or else I will instantly slap you to death. You just wait. Leaving behind unwillingness and fear, Wang Yuan brought 12 disciples and fled into the sky. Now, only Su Fong and Xiao Mei were left in the huge Dao Hall, while Bai Ling chased after the fleeing disciples of Zuan Pavilion. Su Fong finally returned to normal. Mayor, I will help you find your past. I also want to find my past. If you're hiding anything from me or using me, then I will personally kill you. Xiao Mei was completely unreasonable. All right, since the last time I came to Zuan Pavilion and personally heard your words, until today, my heart has been filled with panic. I don't believe that you would treat me like that. Now, I will go and grab Zhang Suning and Heartless Grandma and let them tell you the truth in front of you. At this moment, as he turned around, Su Fong looked at the sealing formation above. All disciples, form your hand seals. Heartless Grandma's command came from the top of the sealing formation. Separated by the formation, she arrogantly said, Unfilial son Su Fong, you have already fallen into my sect's formation. Today, even if you grow wings, you will not be able to escape. This old woman has to thank you for delivering yourself to my door and also giving me the Xinjia Gate. Today, I want to kill people. All disciples of Zuan Pavilion, listen carefully. Your deaths are controlled by the upper echelons of Zuan Pavilion. It has nothing to do with Su Fong. Today, I am only a cultivator taking revenge for my clansmen. Since ancient times, a debt must be paid with money, and a life must be paid with a life. Su Fongdao roared and immediately brought Xiao Mei into the sky to meet Bai Ling. Without waiting for the two of them to react, suddenly, waves of cold air gushed out from above, and the entire barrier seemed to have turned into an ice wall. Suddenly, a large number of ice swords pierced down from the formation, densely packed together. Chapter 786. Brother, you don't even need to do anything. Bai Ling's slender figure was graceful. Look, I've just returned from the heavenly Dipper realm. Zuan Pavilion is too shameless. Let's see how Sister Bai will deal with them. All right, then let's see how Sister Bai handles it. Su Fong protected Xiao Mei. Even with Xiao Mei's current status as a sect master, she was not strong enough to resist the shackles of the array formation. Chaotic fire. After saying that, Bai Ling, who was like a feather, looked at the dense ice swords falling down. She opened her mouth and spat out a large amount of shocking flames. These flames seemed to be in a normal state, but upon closer inspection, they were a kind of rising gas flame. Moreover, they were gray in color and felt like a kind of fire. The ice sword array formation suddenly stabbed down without any gaps, allowing the three of them to dodge. They wanted to kill Xiao Mei as well. The fire suddenly burst out and turned into a fireball, rising into the sky. Sizzle. The fire displayed an indescribable devouring aura. As soon as the ice swords of the array formation touched the fire, they were burned into dust by the fire. Even more ice swords behind and around them also began to melt from the fire. You think this little power is in front of me? Now, what's a Zuan Pavilion? It's not even a caterpillar in front of the true disciple of the chaotic heavenly monarch. Fairy, he eat caterpillars. Bai Ling suddenly made a face at Su Fong, feeling very proud. She muttered to herself again and suddenly exclaimed, Brother, Sister Bai is no longer Fairy he in the future. She has to have a Taoist name. From now on, she will be called the Chaotic Fairy. Chaotic Fairy. Why does it feel a little discordant? Seeing that Su Fong did not say anything, Bai Ling exclaimed a few more times. Then, She controlled the Een fire and directly burned more ice swords coming down from the array formation, melting them continuously. Outside the array formation, Heartless Granny and a few elders were controlling hundreds of experts to float outside the formation. They were forming seals to support the formation. Zhang Suning was at the side, protected by a dazzling light. In the distance, countless Zuan Pavilion disciples were waiting. They were waiting to publicly suppress Su Fong in this Zuan Pavilion training hall. Zhang Suning suddenly looked at Heartless Grandma and the other elders. "Grandma, help me. I don't know where Su Fong's flying sword came from, but it actually placed a shackle on my true chi, blood chi, and even devoured my life force. I can't circulate my chi. I don't have time to heal you right now. Just wait. This Su Fong and that little demon aren't easy to deal with. Only by suppressing them can I help you restrain them." Unexpectedly, Heartless Granny shouted back, causing Zhang Suning to shrink to the side and wait in pain. Continue to reinforce the formation. The other elders ordered the hundreds of experts. Inside the formation Bai Ling easily reached the top of the formation. Any formation's cold sword turned to dust under the Een fire. At this time, Bai Ling's strength had reached the level of 3 heavenly calamities. Together with the strange power of the chaotic heaven monarch, its strength had completely surpassed Sorcerer Heiyun. It was not much different from a realm lord. Destroy. Looking at the formation, Bai Ling suddenly spat out a claw print Een fire. This Een flame claw imprint shot out and flew up into the sky. With a boom, it grabbed onto the enchantment and started burning. Suddenly, a large hole was burned into the enchantment. Many experts of Xiannu Pavilion could see it clearly. Many experts trembled in fear. Damn it, go! An old man suddenly released a flying sword, which flew out of his hand and pierced through the air, sneakily attacking Bai Ling from the opening of the formation. Quite despicable. But in terms of despicability, how can my demon race be inferior to humans? Bai Ling suddenly laughed evilly. Seeing the flying sword attack, a circle appeared in her hand. It was a circle that released a chaotic light. The flying sword suddenly pierced her head, but she took a step back. The circle suddenly enlarged, and the flying sword pierced the circle. Bang! Crack! A king-grade flying sword had just pierced the center of the circle. The peerless spirit circle created by the chaotic heaven monarch only released a slight aura. The king-grade flying sword began to shatter in the blink of an eye. It turned into gravel and then dust, completely disappearing from the center of the spirit circle. Su Fong saw this and wanted to use the Starry Daylight sword to help Bai Ling dissolve the flying sword. Unexpectedly, he clapped his hands. Powerful, what a powerful Dao artifact. PFFF. Outside the formation, the elder who threw the flying sword was also an antique like Heartless Granny. As the flying sword shattered, he was forced to take 3 steps back. Then his face turned pale and he kept vomiting blood. The other elders protected him in disbelief. How is it possible? The quality of your flying sword has reached the middle of the king grade. It's close to the peak. Oh no! Heartless Granny only now realized how difficult it was to deal with Su Fong and Bai Ling. Just as she was deep in thought, more than 100 experts flew over. The leader was a middle-aged woman. This woman released the divine power that controlled the Zuan Pavilion's natural source. This woman must be the Zuan Pavilion's sect master, the supreme leader. Greetings, leader. Heartless Granny led the other elders to welcome the middle-aged woman. The middle-aged woman glanced at the formation. I'll lead a group of disciples and evacuate first. The sect's resources are almost all packed. I heard that the Celestial Sealing sect no longer exists, and the hundreds of thousands of disciples are mostly dead. If we don't evacuate now, no one knows what will happen to our sect next. Leader, don't worry. Just leave. Since you have decided to capture Su Fong and suppress him, use all your strength to capture him in the shortest time possible. This is because the immortals are also looking for him. If the immortals sense you and find you, none of you will be a match for them. After the middle-aged woman finished speaking, she decisively led the experts and flew into the sky. Countless shadows of the surrounding disciples also flew out of Xian NYU Pavilion sect. Zuan Pavilion is leaving. In the depths of the formation, Su Fong used his perfected ability and met the Zuan Pavilion sect master. Fortunately, he saw Zhang Suning, some elders, Heartless Granny, and other experts who had not left. Su Fong immediately communicated with Bai Ling. Sister Bai, I think the Zuan Pavilion will use its true strength immediately. You have to use the Heavenly Neck Spirit Ring to protect yourself. The combined strength of the Zuan Pavilion's experts has reached the peak of 3 heavenly calamities. You must not be careless. In the future, when there are people around, it's best to call me the Chaos Fairy. Only that will suit my identity. Bai Ling did not take the Zuan Pavilion seriously at all. What threat? The mysterious Heavenly Neck Spirit Ring in her hand was spinning slightly, as if it would fly out of her hand at any time and shatter everything in its path. The Heavenly Neck Spirit Ring was just a toy in her hand. Outside the formation, Heartless Granny gathered the 4 elders with the same strength, cultivation, and status. Everyone, let's work together. This Su Fong is really not simple. To be able to live until now and turn the Zhuotian realm upside down, he is no longer a junior cultivator who has only cultivated for a few hundred years. And if an immortal really comes looking for us, not only will our lives be in danger, all of our efforts will be in vain. The 4 elders also agreed. Then let's use our magic treasures and array formations to unleash our strongest attack. What about our disciple, Xiao Mei? Even death can't wipe out her crimes. Being together with an unfilial son like Su Fong has brought disaster to the sect. Furthermore, she did not help the sect obtain the immortal Jia gate back then. If an ordinary disciple dies, then so be it. At this moment, how can we care about a disciple? One by one, the elders began to form hand seals. They did not care about the disciples of the Zuan Pavilion and Xiao Mei's life and death. It just so happened that all of this happened. Everything that they had said had been loudly released in front of Xiao Mei by Su Fong using the Great Perfection stage ability. After Xiao Mei heard this, she couldn't help but take a step back. Then, she trembled and spat out a mouthful of blood. She muttered to herself in disbelief, her eyes filled with suspicion. Why is my most respected Heartless Granny, as well as the seniors, actually like this? Back then, because I entered the immortal Jia gate and came out alive, it alarmed the entire Zhuotian realm. Countless great powers wanted to obtain the secret of the immortal Jia gate. So Zuan Pavilion let you hide by my side and find out the secret of the immortal Jia gate from me. Su Fong, who was at the side, felt as if a knife was being twisted in his heart, but he still calmed down and advised, "You and I went through hardships, and then I told you everything that happened in the immortal Jia gate. After that, you silently left, and when I heard about you again, I already knew that Zuan Pavilion had obtained the secret of the immortal Jia gate. And it was from you. At that time, I didn't believe that you would betray me. Until today, Zuan Pavilion's true face has been revealed so palely. Mayor, you don't owe Zuan Pavilion anything, so don't feel guilty. On the contrary, Zuan Pavilion owes you too much. What did Zuan Pavilion do to me? I don't know either. It's very likely that they carried out some kind of search on your young soul and stole your memories. I must understand. I will make you understand everything." Su Fong really wanted to hug Xiao Mei at this moment, but Xiao Mei's eyes were still filled with wariness and uneasiness. Boom! In an instant, all of a sudden, the formation above them collapsed. It didn't collapse naturally, nor was it destroyed by Bai Ling. Instead, a large amount of Xian Guang and the 5 flying swords fused together, transforming into a terrifying destructive force that directly shattered the formation. Crap! The quality of the 5 flying swords was extremely shocking, and the Xian Guang had even reached the peak of 3 natural disasters. This was clearly the combined attack of the 5 old antiques, of Heartless Granny, and hundreds of experts. Vermilion Emperor, 9-section Earth Dragon, Heavenly Demon Venerable, Wooling Goblin, 9-headed Goblin King, brute force Goblin King. Su Fong suddenly leapt up. Bai Ling had already activated the Heavenly General Spirit Ring and didn't care about the attacks above it all. 6 peerless big goblin appeared around Su Fong. After appearing, the peerless ancient big goblin, the Vermilion Emperor opened its mouth and spat out a shocking demon god's fury. 2. The demon god's fury was like a bloody tongue that pierced through the air, passing through Bai Ling. At the same time that the Xianguang was waiting for the formation fragments to fall down, a thunderbolt struck the Xianguang. Boom, boom, boom. The 5 flying swords within the Xianguang were instantly shattered by the demon god's fury. However, the Xianguang contained the power of countless experts. At this moment, it was a terrifying explosion that could kill cultivators below the 2 natural disasters. Whoosh! Su Fong suddenly released an extreme speed, transforming into a Xianguang that sucked Xiao Mei-er, the 6 big goblin, and Bai Ling into the void. Careful! Outside, Heartless Granny and the other experts roared. Seeing the Xianguang explode, they immediately ordered the surrounding experts to retreat. However, the moment they moved, the huge explosion had already spread out and swallowed them up like a flood or a ferocious beast. The explosion immediately spread out in all directions, transforming into a shocking fire snake that charged up against the heavens. For a moment, the shaking earth was incomparably dazzling. The flames of the explosion came quickly and then disappeared suddenly. When the 5 old antiques were affected one by one, they looked around and saw countless Zhuan Pavilion disciples. There were too many corpses that filled the air. Chapter 787. Before the 5 experts could react, from the other side of the explosion, a distorted world suddenly appeared. Within the distorted space, 9 figures appeared. Su Fong, Bai Ling, and Lan Haiqing walked out first, followed by the Vermilion Emperor, the 9-section Earth Dragon, the Tongtian Demon Venerable, the Wuling Goblin, the 9-headed Goblin King, and the Brute Force Goblin King. The 6 big goblins were still in their human forms. Su Fong immediately ordered, 6 demons, listen up, stop the 5 old monsters and the injured Zhang Suning. Swish! Any one of the 6 big goblin kings had the strength of 3 calamities. The weakest among them were the Brute Force Goblin King, the Vermilion Emperor, and the 9-section Earth Dragon. Even if they were slightly weaker, they were still comparable to 3 calamities. The strongest were naturally the Tongtian Demon Venerable, the Wuling Goblin King, and the 9-headed Goblin King. Any one of them had the strength of a leader of a large faction. The space trembled, and the 5 experts, who were still in shock, were surrounded by the Vermilion Emperor and the other big goblin. With the current strength that Su Fong had, he had already surpassed the Zhuan Pavilion. Even the big goblin in his hands was far more powerful than the Zhuan Pavilion, let alone the experts from the mortal emperor world. Each of the 6 great demons was a paragon of their own. Boom! The Wuling Goblin was the first to make a move. It charged forward and used its sturdy physical strength to strike with its palm. The space trembled from the impact. Heartless Granny and the other experts immediately activated the array. They wanted to use the array to defend and attack first. However, the Wuling Goblin's 2 palm strikes caused the array to collapse immediately. The 5 experts' expressions changed instantly. So strong. TSK. TSK. The 9-section Earth Dragon suddenly spewed out boiling demonic poison. Seeing the demonic poison, the 5 experts seemed to recognize that it was a powerful giant demon from the Zhuotian domain. The 5 of them nodded and dashed in different directions. Bang! Bang! Almost at the same time, a few big goblins made a move and surrounded the 5 experts. With just one move, Heartless Granny and the others were terrified. Come here! A demonic shadow swept past from below. It was Demon Monarch Brute Force. He grabbed Zhang Suning, who was heavily injured but was still trembling as he activated his transcendent artifact, as if he was pinching a little chick. He effortlessly shook the transcendent artifact away, and then carried Zhang Suning to Su Fong in a flash. Zhang Suning was so frightened that he could not speak coherently. He was completely shaken by the strength of the big goblin. Su Fong, are you a human or a demon? If you say I am a human, then I am a human. If you say I am a demon, then I am a demon. He glanced at Zhang Suning. He had once been an elder, an unreachable figure who was revered by tens of thousands of people. In the past, Su Fong was just an ant in front of Zhang Suning. Su Fong could still clearly remember how Zhang Suning had bared his fangs and brandished his claws in front of him. Kneel! Demon Monarch brute force swept his leg and kicked Zhang Sunying's knee. A dignified elder had lost his dignity. He was like an ant kneeling in front of Su Fong. His kneecaps were probably broken. Su Fong suddenly looked around. There are some Zuin Pavilion disciples coming. Go deal with them. If you want to kill them or eat them, you decide. If they want to die, I won't stop them. Thank you, Master. Demon Monarch brute force was still unhappy. The big goblin, whose name had once shaken the immortal melody world, wanted to eat humans the most. He happily released his demonic poison and turned into a demonic cloud as he flew away. Now, Su Fong did not even need to do anything to deal with the Zuin Pavilion. Su Fong first looked at Xiao Mei, then looked down at Zhang Suning. You should be in my hands. There is no chance of you surviving. But if you answer my questions truthfully, I can let you go. Really, after thoroughly witnessing Su Fong's methods, even if Zhang Suning was an elder, he knew that there was nothing he could do. He could only think of ways to survive. What did you do to Mayor? Why doesn't she remember the past? It's because when she first found out the secret of the Xinjia Gate from you, she refused to explain it to the sect. The upper echelons of the sect discussed and decided to control her young nascent soul. We elders would set up a formation to search her young nascent soul and strip its memories. So it was a mayor who told the Zuin Pavilion the secret of the Xinjia Gate. Yes, it was all obtained through the soul search. Not only did we obtain the secret of the Xinjia Gate, we also learned about everything that happened in the southern wilderness. Only later did we think of going to the southern wilderness to capture your clansmen and use them to threaten you so that we could suppress you. After obtaining the Xinjia Gate and successfully stripping her memories, the upper echelons directly shattered Xiao Mei-er's past memories and controlled her young nascent soul for a long time, helping her raise her strength until her primordial spirit no longer had any memories of the past. Then you're also a participant. Not only me, there are also many elders, such as Xuanjin Nun, Heartless Granny, and other old antiques who are the masterminds behind the scenes. In the end, all the orders are given by those old antiques. We elders can only obediently carry them out. At this time, Zhang Suning told the truth. After he finished speaking, he was scared out of his wits. Su Fong looked at Xiao Mei-er, his eyes full of hatred and sympathy. At this time, Xiao Mei-er came in front of Zhang Suning. Everything you said is true. Zhang Suning felt endless hatred. It's true. If there are any lies, Su Fong can use the soul search. At that time, my fate will be even worse. I just want to save my dog life. Do you think I'm a disciple or a tool? Facing Xiao Mei-er's question, Zhang Suning chose to remain silent. Bai Ling immediately comforted Xiao Mei-er and pulled her to the side. Su Fong's killing intent continued. Zhang Suning, don't you think you deserve to die? Zhang Suning, have cultivated for tens of thousands of years. I still remember that year when I entered Xian New Pavilion with unparalleled ambition. After many hardships, I overtook those female disciples and became a genius elite disciple. Thousands of years later, I was promoted to an elder. During this period of time, in order to become a higher-up, I was unscrupulous and unscrupulous. I have long lost the heart of cultivation that I had 10,000 years ago. I deserve it. If I had persevered, I would have long ascended to the outside world. Even if you regret your heart of cultivation now, you won't be able to pick it up. The stronger you are, the more your desire to possess material things will erode your heart. Su Fong let out a breath of relief. He finally had a rough idea of what Xiao Mei had experienced in Zuin Pavilion. He didn't know before and felt that she had betrayed him. Now, he felt extremely guilty. If he had thought about it carefully and calmed down, he wouldn't have come to this. Su Fong had met Xiao Mei at Purple Cloud Mountain. They met again in Zhao country, experienced several life and death situations, and came all the way to the Crimson Firmament continent. Didn't all this prove what kind of person Xiao Mei was? Su Fang deeply felt the guilt towards Xiao Mei, and his heart felt like it was being twisted by a knife. If she loved vanity, she would have been willing to stay in Zhao country and become his imperial concubine. If she wanted to murder Su Fang, she could have killed Su Fang in Zhao country. Whoosh! A demon shadow suddenly swept over. Tongtian Demon Venerable. It had transformed into its original form, the Divine Arms Spirit Monkey, and was actually pressing down on Heartless Granny, who was covered in blood. Both of Heartless Granny's arms had been forcefully broken by it. This old woman's strength is not bad, and she almost escaped. However, even if she was twice as strong, she wouldn't be able to escape from my hands. The Divine Arms Spirit Monkey had transformed into a domineering middle-aged man, and a demon power pressed down on Heartless Granny. This crazy woman trembled as she knelt beside Zhang Suning. Heartless Granny, you probably never dreamed that you would fall into my hands today. When you first met me, I was just an ant in your eyes. Now, I don't even need to do anything, and I can easily suppress you. Su Fang looked down at Heartless Granny. This was a monster whose heart was as poisonous as a scorpion, even more venomous than a snake. I will definitely kill you, but there are many ways to do so. Let's see if you choose to be killed by my sword, or die in the hands of the big goblin and be tortured by the big goblin for countless years before slowly torturing you to death. You little monster, may the heavens strike you with lightning, and you will die a horrible death. The current old antique, an expert whose name shook the entire heaven domain, could only curse helplessly. Heartless Granny had only shouted a few words before she spat out blood. Su Fang said, "Tell me how you dealt with Mei back then. You were a smart person and an old antique. I also want you to die a worthy death. Don't die in such a horrible manner now." Heartless Granny might be crazy, but at this time, seeing the situation, she had no choice but to speak up. What she said was almost the same as what Zhang Suning said. This also proved the credibility of Zhang Sun Ying's words. You asked me why I want to deal with Xiao Mei. In truth, when we obtained everything from her young infant, we wanted to silence her. However, Wang Yuan and many other sect masters knew about this matter. If the higher-ups casually killed her, the disciples would have all kinds of suspicions. In the end, we decided to wipe her memory completely and let her become a core disciple who had contributed greatly to the sect. She would be rewarded with the position of sect master. This way, there wouldn't be any gossip, and it would also let the other disciples see how the sect treats its disciples. During this time, Su Fang asked a lot of questions, and Heartless Granny answered them all truthfully. At this time, Heartless Granny looked at Su Fang, the corners of her eyes bleeding. I regret it now. Su Fang didn't understand. Regret what? Regret listening to other people's suggestions. I should have used Xiao Mei as bait to force you to show yourself, and then suppress you. In the end, I would have obtained the Xinjia Gate. It's a pity that this old woman was soft-hearted and didn't accept the suggestion. Otherwise, Su Fang wouldn't be here today. At death's door, you can be considered to have died a clear death. However, Su Fang, believe that even if you did that, I would still have survived in the end. Furthermore, I would have saved Mei, and there wouldn't have been so many things happening today. Heartless Granny, I will personally send you on your way. He didn't expect Heartless Granny to have such a scheme. He had no choice but to die. After Su Fang heard this, he grabbed out a ray of sword chi, and Heartless Granny was so scared that she almost fainted. He raised his hand. The sword stopped. Pooh! Su Fang's sword accurately pierced into Heartless Granny's heart. The latter stared unwillingly, and her head tilted to the right along with her body. Zhang Suning kowtowed again and again. Spare me, Su Fang, spare me. You killed so many of my clansmen. Do you think I will let you go? Following that, another sword accurately pierced into Zhang Sun Ying's heart. Su Fang, you will die a horrible death. Master, save me. Zhang Sun Ying's big eyes watched as the sword chi pierced into his body. He clenched his fists tightly and roared at Su Fongda like a devil. When he fell, his hands maintained a strange seal. On the ground, Zhang Sun Ying spat out blood. He hadn't really died yet, but he wouldn't be able to wait long before he died. "Master, come and take a look." Suddenly, the nine-headed demon king and Wuling goblin flew over from the front, dragging two balls of demonic light. Inside the demonic light were two pieces of flesh from the Zuan pavilion's antiques. The two big goblin looked uneasy. This made Su Fong very confused. He immediately brought the brute force demon king and flew towards the two big goblin kings. The four of them stopped. The nine-headed demon king waved his hand and tore open the chest of the corpse. "Master, take a closer look. This person doesn't have a heart, only a rune." "Is that so?" Su Fong took a closer look. Through the blood, flesh, and blood, he found that there was indeed no heart in the chest. It was replaced by a rune. "This corpse of mine is the same." The Wuling goblin shook out the chest of the corpse. "Demons like us eat humans' hearts or brains first. Hence, after we killed these two martial artists, we wanted to dig out their hearts and eat them on spot." Who knew that this would happen? Author's words. By the way, some brothers feel that the plot of the Celestial Sealing sect is too long and lame. However, I don't think so. To Su Fong, the Celestial Sealing sect was the first in the Crimson Firmament continent. When he left the small world, the Celestial Sealing sect would also be his end. It played an important role in the setting of the main outline. Right and wrong, the tides rise and fall. In the end, out of thousands of cultivators, only a few could still be stunning, laughing in the sky, proud of the moon. Chapter 788. Sure enough, when Demon King Black Ridge pointed at the chest, there was nothing under the wound. There was no heart that a human should have, only a rune. This strange scene made Su Fong and the big goblin tremble uneasily. At this time, the nine-headed demon king and the other big goblin had also returned. They had successfully killed their opponents, but there were hearts in the bodies of the three old antiques. "This rune is strange." Su Fong and the big goblin sat together and then activated the Xian Guang, slightly activating the rune that was implanted in the chest. Chi! Unexpectedly, the rune immediately burned with a blood-red flame. Once the flame appeared, Su Fong was extremely shocked. Why did the blood-red flame feel so familiar to him? It was the blood hell wolf smoke that he cultivated. He had accidentally obtained the blood hell wolf smoke from an expert of the Night Spirit sect. It was very powerful, countless times stronger than the Celestial Sealing sect's green fiend true fire. This is the work of the Night Spirit sect. It was strange that he could encounter something related to the Night Spirit sect here again. What secrets did this rune have? At this moment, Su Fong was bold. He did not care who the Night Spirit sect was. He was activating the Blood Hell Wolf smoke, preparing to extract the rune and study it. Back then, the Night Spirit sect caused chaos in the Zhuotian world. However, they seem to have been suppressed by various major forces and disappeared. I have not heard any news about them in the past few hundred years. Why would the power of the Night Spirit sect appear in the bodies of the experts of the Zuan Pavilion? Could this expert be related to the Night Spirit sect? After thinking for a while, he looked at the blood hell wolf smoke that had just condensed and gradually grabbed the rune. Ah! Suddenly, Xiao Mei-er's scream came from behind. Su Fong quickly turned around and saw Bai Ling protecting Xiao Mei-er, who was pale with fright. In front of them, Heartless Grandma and Zhang Sun Ying, who had just been killed by Su Fong, suddenly came back to life. An evil blood hell wolf smoke was burning. Bai Ling was also shocked. "Kill you!" Speed shot out from Bai Ling's body like a bolt of lightning. Bang! The aura released by the chaotic energy helped Bai Ling release a wave of power that struck the head of Zhang Sun Ying, who had just revived and stood up. His head was instantly smashed into minced meat. Peng the corpse fell in front of Bai Ling again. This time, the head was gone. Let's see if Zhang Sun Ying can still come back to life. Su Fong and the big goblin also hurriedly flew over. At least Zhang Sun Ying had been killed by Bai Ling. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief and wanted to see why Zhang Sun Ying had suddenly come back to life. Hiss! At this moment, something unexpected happened. A distorted shadow flew out from the headless body of the fallen Zhang Suning. The shadow was too fast, like a ray of light under the dusk. It passed through Bai Ling, not giving Bai Ling time to react and chase after it. With a scream, the shadow actually forcefully pounced on Xiao Mei, who was alone at the back. Mei, Su Fang's heart felt as if it had been cut by a knife. Xiao Mei, who was caught off guard, seemed to have changed into a different person. Her eyes were dim, and she felt as if she had fallen into a deep sleep. However, she slowly raised her head and waved her hand to stop Bai Ling and Su Fang from approaching. Bai Ling waited for Su Fang and couldn't help but ask, "What's going on?" She had always been by Xiao Mei's side. She didn't know. So how could Su Fang understand? Although he didn't know what was going on, Su Fang was already prepared to make a move. However, he had to see what Xiao Mei would do next. He couldn't act rashly like how Bai Ling had killed Zhang Suning. Zhang Suning was dead, but Su Fang was alive. That's right. Xiao Mei actually spoke. However, the voice that came out of her mouth was neither male nor female. As expected, something was wrong. At this moment, Su Fang's heart jumped to his throat. Xiao Mei looked at Su Fang numbly. "Brat, we meet again. Back then, I said that if I had the chance, I would definitely go to the Celestial Sealing sect to kill you. You have repeatedly offended my Night Spirit Society. So it's you." This made Su Fang's thoughts go back to the past. In the Snow Wind continent, he had repeatedly encountered the Night Spirit Society on planet Chilian. He asked, "I don't understand. Why would a Vice Altar Master of the Night Spirit Society appear in the Zuin Pavilion and control so many experts?" "Vice Altar Master, you met a group of people under my command on planet Chilian. They were controlled by the Vice Altar Master. Later, they were ambushed by you, and more than half of them were killed or injured. I still remember this clearly. You should also remember it. At that time, I said that I would come and find you in the future." Xiao Mei still spoke with a voice that was neither cold nor hot, neither male nor female. "I remember that you shamelessly boasted to me that you were still looking forward to meeting me. Could it be that you have become my enemy time and time again? You even killed my Vice Altar Master on planet Chilian and destroyed my heart that I had obtained so much. I won't forget an evil existence like you." Being reminded, Su Fang's experience of going to planet Chilian and accidentally encountering the Night Spirit Society appeared in his mind. He didn't expect to really encounter the Night Spirit Society. The Night Spirit Society has disappeared for so many years and is being hunted down by all the major forces in the Zhuotian realm. It seems that you, the Sect Master, are also at the end of your rope. You fled to this Zuin pavilion and secretly controlled these experts. You are gravely mistaken. You still think that the Night Spirit Society under my command is to establish a force. Isn't that so? How many innocent lives has your Night Spirit Society killed in the Zhuotian realm? How many people have you harmed? Do you want to become a force like the Great God Sect? Yes, I can tell you that the Night Spirit Society has never thought of establishing any force in a small world. The Night Spirit Society is just an insignificant ant and a tool in my hands. If I, the Sect Master of the Night Spirit Society, want to establish a force, I can establish a large force in less than 100 years. Hearing this, Su Fang also felt that the Night Spirit Society didn't seem to want to establish a dojo. He asked again, "Then what is the Night Spirit Society's goal?" "Of course I won't tell you. Su Fang, you've grown so quickly that I've begun to pay attention to you. Looking at your physical body, it's the perfect physical body of an ancient human cultivator. To use your physical body to enter the Tao, your accomplishments are no small matter. Your golden core has also disappeared. You're now a void cultivator, and your body still has some divine sons that were born during the world's metamorphosis. You more or less have the aura of a savior. Not bad. Not only is your physical body a perfection, but you're also a void cultivator and a savior's power. You can see through so many of my secrets at a glance." Having his secret exposed, Su Fang's expression froze, as if he was facing a great enemy. But if the enemy didn't move, he wouldn't move. Su Fang remained calm. The perfected physical body is something I accidentally obtained from an incomplete ancient cultivation technique. As for the Void Walker, if I could choose, I would naturally want to regain my golden core. As for the Tribulation Taker, so you don't even know yourself. Your perfected physical body has also fused with a lot of strange spiritual power of heaven and earth. In the ancient era of body refinement, your perfected physical body was very outstanding. As for the Tribulation Taker, it doesn't seem difficult to explain. Look at the sun in the sky. Every time a divine sun rises, it symbolizes a change in heaven and earth. There are signs of catastrophe. Usually, cultivators who absorb the power of the change at this time can be called Tribulation Takers. However, you only have a part of the Tribulation Taker's aura. Strictly speaking, you are not a Tribulation Taker. So, according to him, Li Haojia and Zhang Ruiyun are both Tribulation Takers. His heart tightened. Tribulation Takers? It was indeed the first time he knew. Thinking back carefully, it wasn't difficult for Su Fong to think that the two real Tribulation Takers were Zhang Ruiyun and Li Haojia, who changed their fates when the sun appeared. They were definitely Tribulation Takers. The Night Spirit sect leader took Xiao Mei Er's body and said, Su Fong, the reason why I appeared in front of you and told you so much is because I value your extraordinary physical body. If you follow me, I will let you become a supreme immortal emperor in a great world and dominate a great world. Moreover, even immortal emperors and great emperors are only very insignificant existences in this world. How big is the world? No matter how much talent and potential you have, you will never be able to peek into the supreme heavenly Tao. Su Fong slightly raised his chi and focused his mind. You are trying to win me over. If you think so, I am indeed trying to win you over. Why? It's because I'm the only one in this world who truly knows that you are extraordinary. Is there anyone else? Even immortals are short-sighted. They can't see your potential and can't predict your future. However, I could do all of this. I need a talent like you right now. You don't know that I'm a void dust. A void dust is an existence that transcends the 6 paths of reincarnation. How can you predict my future? Haha, if you're talking about transcending the heavenly Taos as a void spirit, then you're gravely mistaken. The void spirit is only for humans, for the weak. In this world, there's no one who can truly transcend the heavenly Taos. Even if there were such people, you wouldn't be able to spy on them. Don't think that just because you're a bit of a genius, you can achieve whatever you want. Only by following this Lord can you truly transcend the 6 Taos. Back then, this Lord said that my Night Spirit Society had the ability to not die. Did I lie to you? Didn't the person you just killed come back to life? Undying power. This was real. Su Fong and everyone else had personally witnessed Zhang Sun Ying coming back to life. Su Fong thought about it for a long time. He naturally wasn't willing to work for someone else, especially a cult. If you don't die, then I will kill you. Of course, you still have a choice. Obediently leave Mei Er's body, and I won't kill you. If you insist on controlling Mei Er, then I can only forcefully kill you. I don't want to hear any other nonsense. You really do care about this girl. The Night Spirit religious leader laughed hoarsely, as if he was sizing himself up. Yes, her body actually has the same aura as yours. It seems this is the result of dual cultivation. So, she's actually so important to you. Su Fong, since this girl is under my control, you should join me and work for me. That way, I can fulfill your wish. Su Fong shook his head. I hate being threatened the most. All right. Today, I will do you a favor and return this girl to you. However, we will definitely meet again in the future. He didn't expect things to go so smoothly. After Su Fong made his request, Xiao Mei suddenly lowered her head, and an evil, blood-colored smoke shot out from her chest. That smoke immediately disappeared into the sky. Whoosh! He flashed to Xiao Mei's side. Bai Ling and the big goblin stood guard in the surroundings. No one dared to be careless. Seeing such a powerful Night Spirit religious leader, the big goblin also knew what fear felt like. Xiao Mei seemed to have really fallen asleep. Su Fong was worried, so he released his perception force. As a result, he was shocked by what he saw. There was actually no heart in her heart. Instead, there was a rune. This rune had quite a few blood channels. Blood and true chi were slowly flowing within, fusing with her body. Could it be that when the night spirit religious leader escaped, that blood-colored smoke also took Mei-Er's heart and planted this rune in her in such a short time? At this moment, he finally understood why the night spirit religious leader had said that they would meet again in the future. Author's words: today's Easter egg can be considered a gift for the children who are about to go to school. It's just a small gift. Remember, there are a total of 6 chapters, and there will be more at night. Chapter 789. Because Xiao Mei-Er had lost her heart and was planted with a rune talisman. If only the night spirit sect leader could undo the rune talisman. Wouldn't that mean? Thinking back to how Zhang Sun Ying had struck out a seal before he was killed, Su Fong understood that most of these controlled cultivators should know about the existence of the night spirit sect. She had lost her heart. Su Fong didn't feel good. What was going on? He immediately sensed Xiao Mei-Er's divine aperture. Inside, her young infant was also enveloped by an evil and familiar aura. Su Fong activated the demonic voice from the demonic disintegration seal. After a few demonic voices, the evil aura disappeared. Xiao Mei-Er's young infant had just woken up. When she saw Su Fong's consciousness floating in her divine aperture, she immediately activated her defense. She turned pale with fright and shook Su Fong's consciousness out of her body. She was so scared that she trembled, treating Su Fong as a villain and avoiding him. Fortunately, Bai Ling came to comfort her in time. Su Fong was shocked. Didn't they already resolve the misunderstanding? Suddenly, he thought of something and patted his head. He let the Vermilion Emperor and the sky-piercing Demon Venerable bring the big goblin to sweep away the corpses in the Zuan Pavilion. Bai Ling brought Xiao Mei-Er away from the Zuan Pavilion. Su Fong followed closely behind, not daring to get too close to Xiao Mei-Er. About half a day later, the big goblin returned. Su Fong sucked them into his Dharma treasure space, and then went to the depths of the Snow Wind Continent with Bai Ling and Xiao Mei-Er. At this moment, the shockwaves were even more shocking. They had already spread to every corner of the Yewa Tian realm. 1/3 of the Crimson Firmament Continent and the Snow Wind Continent had turned into ruins. A large number of cultivators were still escaping from the Zhuotian realm. Using his perfected ability, Su Fong gradually merged with the origin of the Zhuotian realm and sensed the entire world. First, he had to find the whereabouts of Sheng Changsheng. During this time, Su Fong also communicated with Exalted Master Yuezhen. Exalted Master Yuezhen was in the small heaven and earth immortal pod, absorbing immortal chi with the big goblin, the undying turtle, and the gourd spirit tree. He transmitted, "Master, I think Xiao Mei-Er rejected you because she lost her memories. Even if she knows what happened in the past and how Zuan Pavilion treated her, her young infant's memories, there are no longer any real memories of the past with you in her young infant's memories." This caused Su Fong's mood to become very low. In other words, her mind is like a blank piece of paper when it comes to the past, and everything that happened between us has become a blank piece of paper. Masters, masters, masters. Master, S masters. In S, B. Master, test masters. Her S was. Est, SSSS, wise is Y, S master, SS. Fongs, S that, S master. I understand. That's why I didn't continue to talk to her. Master, even if you use the Heavenly Demon Book and use the Supreme Young Infant's divine ability, you won't be able to plan it for her. Everything you've experienced in the past has happened in the small world. In the past, there was an expert who was seriously injured during his tribulation. His young infant almost disappeared. However, after he recovered, most of the memories in his young infant disappeared. The power behind that expert thought of a way to use the memories of his young infant to forcefully create a primordial spirit divine ability through a great formation. And the result? In fact, when Exalted Master Yuezhen mentioned this method, Su Fong had already thought of it. It was the only way, planting primordial spirit memories. Exalted Master Yuezhen replied, In the end, it didn't succeed. That expert's young infant couldn't completely fuse with those young infants. It could only forcefully plant countless memories in that expert's mind. This kind of memory is different from illusion. Real memories come from the depths of one's heart. Forcefully planting memories is like drawing on a blank piece of paper. It can't be nailed into a cultivator's heart forever. Hearing these words, Su Fong also completely gave up on the method of planting primordial spirit memories. Planting memories was the same as using illusions. It could only confuse one's heart, but it couldn't enter the depths of one's heart. Rather than letting Xiao Mei'er live in an illusion, it was better to think of a way to solve this problem in reality. In short, it was an old and difficult problem. Not a single disciple of the immortal sealing sect has gone to the other small worlds in the Zhuotian realm. Forget it. Even if they go to other small worlds, how far can they go under such hurried conditions? Let's sense the situation of those immortals and the Xinjia Gate. After that, the Zhuotian realm and the Xinjia Gate will no longer have anything to do with me. It's time to return to the human emperor world and prepare to deal with the Xinyuan Empire. A few days later, Su Fong let Bai Ling take Xiao Mei'er and leave the Zhuotian realm first, waiting in the starry sky. He went to the center of the sky and used his perception. Soon, he saw that the water in the center of the Zhuotian realm had completely evaporated. The surrounding water was also almost evaporated by the shockwave. At present, in the Zhuotian realm, except for a few of the largest continents, the other islands and small continents had all turned into dust under the shockwave. The world had become a desolate spine like a planet. He saw the seven-star child and the powerful young man. The two of them were actually dealing with an immortal while using immortal light to turn into chains and whip the Xinjia Gate again and again. It was not a whip, but a great world's ability to forcibly take the Xinjia Gate. As for the surrounding immortals, only 6 of them were still alive. Half of the dozen immortals had died. Under the destructive shockwave in the center, even if the immortals died, they would not be able to find any corpse fragments. Another immortal attacked and used a long whip. With a crack, it lashed at the Xinjia Gate. It actually entangled the Xinjia Gate and then lifted it up with great force. In the end, the Xinjia Gate did not move at all. The immortal activated his Dao artifact and was unable to shake the Xinjia Gate at all. Su Fong was secretly observing the movements of the immortals. In fact, he had a bold idea. He wanted to see if there was a chance to kill the seven-star child while he was seriously injured, or Huang Yuran, or the young immortal, Holly. As long as he could kill one of the 3 immortals, it would be best if he could kill both of them. Then, for Su Fong, the threat would not be great. Unexpectedly, when the immortal with the immortal whip once again entangled the Xinjia Gate and was about to forcibly take it away, the Xinjia Gate shook. Under the immortal's power and the Dao artifact whip, the Xinjia Gate began to slowly leave the air and move toward the sky. The Xinjia Gate is going to fall into the hands of that immortal. The shockwave was even more shocking, and it also affected Su Fong's complete ability. He could only vaguely see the immortal controlling the whip and slowly dragging the Xinjia Gate into the sky. He also saw the seven-star child chasing after him, and also saw that the seven-star child had suffered very serious injuries. Just as the seven-star child was about to chase after the immortal, a beam of immortal light suddenly appeared from the side. Dao artifact, it was a real Dao artifact. An immortal sword descended from the sky. This immortal sword was about the same quality as the clear spirit immortal sword that was given to his father, Su Yaotian. However, under the control of the immortal, it had a completely different aura. Seven-star child was ambushed again. Luckily, he was only injured by the shockwave from the Dao artifact. He watched as the Xinjia Gate was slowly being dragged toward the sky. Su Fong also looked toward the sky. Little did he know that in the sky, a large amount of the Zhuotian realm's origin energy suddenly appeared and formed a distortion in the sky. Then, the 5 hand seals turned into a great formation in the distorted sky. The great formation condensed 5 bolts of sky lightning, which then fused together to form a vortex of sky lightning. Only the Zhuotian realm's realm lord can use such shocking power of the realm. Su Fangda had a bad feeling and dodged far away. Under his great circle power, the immortals below did not sense the lightning vortex in the sky, because that large array, that sky, was a peerless divine ability created with the power of the realm as the origin energy. Outsiders might not see any movement, but Su Fang also had the power of the realm. Coupled with his great circle power, he was able to see it so clearly. This time, he was in trouble. As expected, the 6 immortals who had snatched the Xinjia Gate, as well as a few realm lords, brought experts to chase after the Xinjia Gate, who knew that a large amount of lightning would suddenly appear in the sky, and the immortals would be wrapped in the lightning vortex. For a moment, there was only a dazzling ball of lightning in the sky. It was as if this ball of lightning had become the only existence in the Zhuotian realm. Pop, 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 lightning bolts ran, and the sound of thunder rumbled. Suddenly, one Tao artifact after another appeared. The might of the Tao artifact shook the lightning aura, and the sky controlled by the power of the realm began to shatter. Kill! 6 silhouettes appeared in the sky. Realm Lord Zhuotian was in the center, and the 5 people beside him were all immortals. After a loud roar, the 5 immortals released the might of Tao treasures and charged towards the large area filled with lightning. Then, they released a large area of burning immortal fire. Huff, huff, huff. At the same time, the lightning vortex created by Realm Lord Zhuotian and the 5 immortals attacked the 6 immortals below, and it brought a shocking shockwave that finally swept out. Screech! Su Fang's entire body began to move under the shockwave, and his robe was torn. And this shockwave instantly evaporated the surrounding water, revealing the strangely shaped bottom of the river. This shockwave was destructive, and the light of the world barrier in the sky was weakened by more than half. As for the continents in the distance, most of them would probably be razed to the ground under this shockwave. Countless Tao artifacts and immortal light came out from the depths of the sea, and when Su Fang looked at the world barrier of the Zhuotian realm again, there were cracks. The Zhuotian realm was severely damaged. Boom! At this moment, Realm Lord Zhuotian and the 5 immortals successfully launched a sneak attack. 7-Star Child and the rest of the immortals were in trouble, and they didn't know what was going on. Because of the aura of the immortals, Su Fangda's full power couldn't penetrate, and he was ready to leave. Who knew? A shocking explosion appeared, and an unbelievably huge Xinjia Gate appeared. It was as if the Xinjia Gate's aura suddenly exploded, and this aura showed the aura of the Xinjia Gate. In short, this terrifying aura that suddenly exploded for some unknown reason, and the shock wave was like a huge wave, and it knocked Su Fang over. After stumbling, Su Fang rolled a few times before he could stand firm under the shock wave. And looking at the Zhuotian realm again, the world barrier was shattered, and the shock wave just now had completely razed the continents in the depths to the ground. No matter if it was cultivators or creatures, they were all turned into dust at this moment. Only feather transformation realm cultivators and very few catastrophe realm cultivators could barely survive. At this time, the Zhuotian realm was in ruins. Su Fang still wanted to get the Zhuotian realm, but he gave up when Realm Lord Zhuotian invited the 5 immortals. Now that he was hit by such a shock, he no longer had this thought. Tut, tut, tut. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly saw a shock wave in the depths of the Zhuotian realm sky, which was the boundless Milky Way. Under that shock wave, it was the dazzling Xinjia Gate. The Xinjia Gate suddenly became unfamiliar. It no longer released immortal light, but an incomparably sacred, ancient, and dazzling immortal light. At this moment, it replaced the divine suns above the Milky Way. The primordial spirit of the divine image Jade Annulus, exclaimed in surprise, Master, the Xinjia Gate seems to have recognized its master and is exploding with divine power. The author's words, everyone can understand how difficult it is for me to update one more day. This means that my plan will be disrupted. If my relatives and friends suddenly ask me for help, or if something happens in my own family, then I might not be able to update today. In order to keep updating, I have to hold the computer all night and write from late at night until dawn. I have to work overnight so that everyone can continue to read at the same time the next day. Chapter 790. It recognized its master. Xinjia Gate recognized its master. Who has such ability? Who has such amazing luck? When Su Fong heard Yun'er's exclamation, questions that shocked him immediately surged out in his heart. Looking at the indescribable shockwave that was rushing towards the depths of the sky, Su Fong immediately chased after it to see what was going on. Behind the Xinjia Gate, more than a dozen immortals stepped on immortal light and released the divine might of a Tao artifact, chasing after the Xinjia Gate. Who would be willing to give up such a peerless Tao artifact? 222. After 3 breaths of time, the Xinjia Gate withstood the shockwave and struck the world barrier. The sturdy world barrier was like an egg in front of the Xinjia Gate. It was directly smashed into pieces, and under the divine power of the Tao artifact, the world barrier that enveloped the Zhuotian realm suddenly shattered. Furthermore, the destructive aura brought about by the Xinjia Gate continued to cover the depths of the Zhuotian realm. At this moment, the Zhuotian realm seemed to be surrounded by halos of light. These halos of light were the light formed by the destruction of the world barrier. The light gradually disappeared, and as the Xinjia Gate went to the Star River, the Zhuotian realm was like a human emperor's world, becoming a planet without the protection of a barrier. The countless energy layers of the world, including the sky, space, and other matter and energy, were instantly devoured by the Star River. The light of the huge world disappeared, and a cold planet replaced the Zhuotian realm, the former holy land of cultivation. Su Fong looked at this scene in shock, unable to believe it. With the disappearance of the world barrier, the Zhuotian realm could no longer accommodate life. It was as if Su Fong's past experiences had been cut off as well. Looking at the dozen or so immortals still chasing after the Xinjia Gate, he shook his head and said regretfully, Realm Master Zhuotian deserves it. He insisted on being a house-guarding slave, and in the end, the Xinjia Gate could not be guarded. Instead, he suffered such a calamity. The Zhuotian realm will not be able to recover for a few thousand years. Brother, Bai Ling flew over from the Star River with Xiao Mei-er. After meeting, Su Fong still felt that Xiao Mei-er was rejecting him, so he asked Bai Ling to release the magic treasure space and let her go in to rest first. Then Bai Ling let Bai Ling transform into his true body. He sat on his back and soon caught up with the Xinjia Gate. He saw more than a dozen immortals also caught up with the Xinjia Gate. They either attacked each other or released immortal Tao seals or the power of Tao artifacts to prevent the Xinjia Gate from escaping. Just who has such luck to fuse with the Xinjia Gate? Floating far away in the Milky Way, watching so many immortals fight over the Xinjia Gate brought both shock and confusion. Su Fong, after a while, just as he was distracted by the immortal fighting for the treasure, a familiar voice suddenly came from another part of the galaxy. It's you, Ying. Coincidentally, it was in the direction of the spirit mist realm. There is only one person who had this kind of ability and could contact him in this galaxy. Su Fong suddenly asked Exalted Man Yu Zhen to appear. Immediately go to planet Chilean and Beichen Zone and find the whereabouts of the immortal sealing sect. I will not let Sheng Changshin go. Master, don't worry. The latter flew away on his sword. While waiting for you, Ying, the Milky Way in front of him also set off a shockwave. More than a dozen immortals were fighting in the Milky Way. They were using their Tao artifacts at will, especially when they were forcefully collecting the Xinjia Gate. The shockwave from the collision with the Xinjia Gate affected the vast Milky Way. It was estimated that the remaining power of the shockwave would seep into the spirit mist realm, Beichen Zone, and planet Chilean. A figure quickly approached, his speed faster than teleportation. Su Fong. It was the expert of the spirit mist realm, Yu Ying. She wore a black robe and wrapped her voluptuous body. The pressure of the Milky Way did not seem to have much effect on her. At this moment, Su Fong finally saw Yu Ying's cultivation. She had also reached 3 calamities. It turned out that she was such a peerless expert. No wonder she could fight with the 7 stars child had on. Yu Ying stopped in her tracks. You are really around here. I told you, the immortals are fighting for the Xinjia Gate in the Zhuotian realm. How could you not be here to watch the show? Su Fong bowed. I can only watch the show. Where's Miss? Why did you contact me the moment the Xinjia Gate broke through the barrier of the Zhuotian realm? More than a dozen immortals came down to the lower realms, as well as the 3 immortals you offended. They are fighting for treasures in the Zhuotian realm, causing such a huge commotion. My spirit mist realm can still hold on, and there are already countless experts hiding in the world barrier. Not only my spirit mist realm, but also the Beichun zone, planet Chilean, and some other small worlds that are even further away. Speaking of the Beichun zone, I found the realm lord of the Beichun zone in the Zhuotian realm. He is also fighting for the Xinjia Gate with 2 immortals and a large number of experts in the Zhuotian realm. The realm lord of the Beichun zone has long been eyeing the Xinjia Gate of the Zhuotian realm, as well as many resources, and has long wanted to obtain this small world. I think he has long sent the immortals down to the lower realms, waiting for an opportunity to kill the realm lord of the Zhuotian realm and obtain the Xinjia Gate and the Zhuotian realm. But now, it seems that the Xinjia Gate is indeed not a treasure that everyone can covet. If it was really easy to obtain, my master would have already made his move. Yu Ying sneered and glanced at the Beichun zone from the corner of her eyes. It turned out that the Beichun zone had already secretly made these plans. It was just that the Spirit Mist Realm Lord was an unfathomable figure. Once he made his move, he would definitely succeed. I wonder if Miss is here to watch the show, or is there something else? I just came to see if these immortals can obtain the Immortal Xia Gate. Another reason is to tell you that we have to be on guard against 7 Star and the other 2 immortals. It's not easy for them to come down to the lower realms, and they might attack our Spirit Mist realm. We have to be on guard. Once they appear, we have to work together to deal with them. Miss, don't worry too much. I think that not many of these immortals will be able to survive in the end. This is because Realm Lord Zhuotian has long been secretly planning to invite 5 immortals to come down to the lower realms. I reckon that most of the immortals will die in Realm Lord Zhuotian's hands. Oh, Yu Ying was startled. Naturally, she didn't know about Realm Lord Zhuotian's plan. Then, she looked at the starry river that was like the surface of a lake. The Xinjia Gate was entangled by many immortals. Immortal light exploded one after another, forming the Xinjia Gate. At such a distance, it was impossible to see the traces of the immortals. They could only roughly see. Even Su Fong's great perfection stage ability was restrained by the shockwaves. The 2 of them did not dare to approach. During this time, Su Fong was shocked to see many cultivators flying over from the surrounding small worlds. Although there were no immortals, they were all experts like Master Heiyun, who had reached the peak of a small world. He reckoned that some realm lords had also come. Seeing this, Yu Ying was very helpless. These people want to use this opportunity to get the Xinjia Gate. Now that the Xinjia Gate seems to be different, who can get it? No matter how many cultivators come, they might lose their lives in the end. This time, the 2 of them really became idlers watching the show. During this time, they saw at least 7 or 8 cultivator forces slowly approaching from all directions. Most of them did not rashly attack. Seeing so many immortals, even if they could get the Xinjia Gate, they would not dare to rashly fight with the immortals. Not only the 2 of them, but those cultivators, as well as the experts who were secretly watching all of this, all thought that this immortals fighting for the treasure would continue for who knows how long. Boom! The Xinjia Gate in the galaxy actually let out a buzzing sound. It seemed that after being attacked by the immortals again and again, there was finally some movement. Roar! Then, a hair-raising cry burst out from the Xinjia Gate. This voice sounded very familiar to Su Fong. Yu Ying, who was at the side, exclaimed, "What monster is that?" Su Fong looked over and saw a demonic shadow releasing immortal light. It quickly transformed from the size of a hand to a giant dragon that was nearly 10,000 meters long. He blurted out in surprise, "Ancient Flood Dragon." A demonic immortal, it's really a demonic immortal. Where did it come from? Could it be the Xinjia Gate? Even Yu Yingying's neck was covered in cold sweat. At this time, Su Fong held his breath. Yes, it indeed came from inside the Xinjia Gate. It's the guardian of a large immortal array space inside. It's extremely powerful. I've entered the Xinjia Gate twice and fought with it. I almost died in the hands of this evil dragon. With its strength, those immortals are doomed. Suddenly, the power of the shockwave lessened. Su Fong, who was at the peak, and Yu Yingying, who was next to him, could vaguely see the giant ancient flood dragon appear in the galaxy. Everything seemed to have turned cold. Whoosh, the ancient flood dragon suddenly breathed out a mouthful of demonic chi that was tens of thousands of meters long. There were 3 immortals that were scared out of their wits in the galaxy within the demonic chi. In the end, they were trapped in the galaxy by the demonic chi. The 3 immortals were swallowed by the ancient flood dragon along with the meteorites in just one breath. It killed 3 immortals in an instant. Horrifying. Yu Yingying's body softened, and her face turned pale. Even she, who was a powerful warrior that stood at the peak of a small world, had never seen such a horrifying giant demonic beast. Not to mention, immortals were just pieces of food in front of it. The ancient flood dragon arrogantly spat out a mouthful of evil demonic energy. There were 2 celestials inside, and they were unlucky. They were originally trying to escape, but they were still sucked into the ancient flood dragon's body by the demonic energy within tens of thousands of meters. The remaining immortals quickly ran for their lives. Back off, back off! Su Fong knew how powerful the ancient flood dragon was. He released his Xianguang and took Yu Yingying away, regardless of whether she was willing or not. They did not even dare to go to the spirit mist world. At a time like this, they could only run for their lives. Those immortals, those sector lords, 7-Star Child, Holly, Huang Yuran, and the other immortals were most unlucky to have encountered the ancient flood dragon. Even if they were 10,000 times stronger, they would not be a match for this kind of evil dragon. How many of them could survive? Su Fong and Yu Yingying teleported as fast as they could. Even though they were bound by the galaxy, they were able to escape. Yu Yingying looked behind them and said, "We don't have to run that far, right? I have a grudge against the ancient flood dragon. The second time I entered, it was not going to let me go. If it wasn't for the Xinjia Gate's artifact spirit, I would have been tortured to a pulp. Once it noticed that my presence was not bound by the Xinjia Gate, it would not be as easy as crushing an ant for it to deal with me in this small world." At this moment, Su Fong was like a rabbit. His eyes were red. His worries were not without reason. The ancient flood dragon was so powerful, it would not be hard for it to sense his presence. Yu Yingying suddenly grabbed him and said, "Wait, it seems to have disappeared. The terrifying aura from the Xinjia Gate and the ancient flood dragon's demonic aura seems to have disappeared." Su Fong turned around and used his perfect circle ability. As expected, he was shocked to see that the Xinjia Gate and the ancient flood dragon were no longer in the galaxy. The presence of the Xinjia Gate and the ancient flood dragon was too obvious. He did not even need to look to sense it. At this moment, the galaxy was only cold and dead. It had only been half an incense stick's time. Why did it suddenly disappear? Especially for a heaven-defying monster like the ancient flood dragon. It had been suppressed in the Xinjia Gate for so many years. Now, that it could come out for a breath of fresh air, it would go around killing people and setting fires. Su Fong gradually calmed down and said, "It has indeed disappeared. However, it is better to be cautious. You and I should wait here and see what happens." The author's words, "The Easter egg is over." I didn't plan to explode because there were so many things to do, but I couldn't help but be greedy. I have to work overtime tonight because I have to update it on time tomorrow morning. I still can't change my mind. It's painful but happy at the same time. That's how I am. Thinking about working overtime late at night in the future, I will make up for the chapters that I explode today. Although writing is a small matter, it still requires persistence. Chapter 791. Su Fong and Yu Yingying waited in the Star River for a long time. When there was no movement, the two of them flew towards the Zhuotian realm. When they saw the Zhuotian realm, there was only a bare realm left. They did not know if the Zhuotian realm lord and the 5 immortals were still alive. Yu Yingying said, Master asked us to return to the spirit mist realm first to guard against 7 Starchild. The Xinjia gate disappeared, and so did the immortals. If 7 Starchild was still alive, he might really make a move on the spirit mist realm. Su Fong and Yu Yingying teleported back to the spirit mist realm. When they arrived at the spirit mist realm, Su Fong saw that the realm barrier was temporarily sealed. However, Yu Yingying could easily enter the barrier. She brought Su Fong across the barrier and arrived above the richly fertile continent. Yu Yingying then led Su Fong into the richly fertile continent. In a huge forest filled with fog, a barrier immediately appeared. Inside the enchantment was an immortal's cave. There was a heaven and earth inside. It was a holy land that was like a paradise. Su Fong felt an extraordinary world origin from this cave residence. It was connected to the entire spirit mist realm. Could it be? Feeling such an unbelievable world origin, Su Fong suddenly felt a wave of shock. He stepped into the palace deep inside the barrier and immediately saw the 6th lord of richly fertile continent, who was covered in jewels. His deep, beady eyes shone brightly. His body, which was not very strong, exuded an incomparably powerful divine might. Su Fong came to the center of the palace. After sensing it, he immediately bowed. Lord 6 Lord is the realm lord of the spirit mist realm. I have been rude. Brat, your eyesight is pretty good. I'm the lord of the 6 realms here, and only those realm lords can see through my identity. The 6th lord of fertility praised Su Fong before asking Su Fong and Yu Yingying to sit down. He then smiled shrewdly and said, Didn't you become a realm lord as well? Although I don't know which small world you fused with, when you appeared in the richly fertile continent, I sensed the power of your world origin inheritance. Su Fong replied sincerely, I accidentally merged with the human emperor world's inheritance due to providence. However, I am still in the process of merging. The human emperor world is incredible. According to the records, the human emperor world was once the most prosperous existence in this vast galaxy. I heard that the human emperor was extremely powerful. However, such a senior also fell in the great 1,000 domains. For you to be able to obtain the human sovereign's inheritance, you must have collected countless fragments of the human sovereign's wheel, right? To be able to do this, you are already extraordinary. This isn't something that can be done with luck. Little brat, you have schemes, shrewdness, and methods. It's reasonable for you to become a realm lord in the future. At this point, the 6th lord of fertility's tone suddenly lowered. I asked you to see me this time mainly to remind you to be careful of the immortal 7 Starchild who came to capture you last time. Just now, the immortal Xia gate shot out a peerless demonic dragon that killed most of the immortals. A few survived, but even if they did, they would be heavily injured. I still have to be wary of immortals. During this time, if you have nothing to do, you can stay in the spirit mist world. Su Fong nodded. Then I will disturb you. After chatting for a while, Su Fong left the central palace with Yu Yingying. Before he could go to the Heaven Crossing sect, Reverend Yuezhen sent him a message. He found many disciples of the Celestial Sealing sect in the Beichen zone. In order to obtain the 3rd part of the purple aura law spirit, Su Fong immediately explained the situation to Yu Yingying and left the fertile continent alone. Beichen zone. It was only a month away from the spirit mist world. The 2 small worlds were not far from each other. At this time, in the Beichen zone, in the wasteland of a continent, a woman was flying slowly at a low altitude. She maintained a hand seal, as if she was using some kind of divine ability. She was the former disciple of the Celestial Sealing sect, Huang Lingyao. I got it. Sheng Changxing's aura is ahead. He is with over 10,000 disciples of the Celestial Sealing sect. Huang Lingyao sneered, but her expression froze as if she was injured. She looked a little tired. She came to a mountainside and set up a formation. Then she took out an ancient scroll. The Celestial Sealing scripture was the most precious treasure of the Celestial Sealing sect. It was the most precious treasure that the 3 disciples of the Celestial Sealing sect and countless higher-ups dreamed of. 7-star child fled back to the Wu-Tan realm. That immortal Huang Yuan of the Green Lotus Sword sect was also killed by the celestial Jia Gate. I guess 7-star child and Holly will leave the small world soon. I have to integrate the celestial sealing scripture as soon as possible. Fortunately, 7-star child gave me a supreme magic power, and with the supreme inheritance I obtained, my cultivation has reached the flying immortal realm. Next, I will be able to pass the second and third disasters soon. The best way for me to ascend to the great world with 7-star child is to integrate the celestial sealing scripture and absorb the power inside. Huang Lingyao looked at the celestial sealing scripture. She dripped 3 drops of blood and started to activate an immortal fire to integrate with the celestial sealing scripture. Bang! Half an hour later, the celestial sealing scripture suddenly produced a counterforce that made Huang Lingyao spit out blood. An ancient luster of a doctrine artifact condensed in front of her chest, and the cold voice of the original spirit came out. Master, you've tried once before. You can't succeed. You'd better not force yourself to integrate with this doctrine artifact. Huang Lingyao steadied herself and looked at the luster weakly. Sword Spirit, you're a peerless doctrine artifact. You really can't integrate with this celestial sealing scripture. It's just an object similar to a magic treasure condensed by the great world. The luster said, although I'm a supreme doctrine artifact, I don't have a young infant like a human. I have a lot of comprehension abilities. If I destroy this celestial sealing scripture, I can directly shatter it with my aura, but it's too difficult for me to erase the will of its integration with a human. I'm mainly attacking, so I can't delicately crack the will of a low-grade doctrine artifact. If I find a slightly more powerful immortal in the great world, he can completely erase the will of the celestial sealing scripture. Forget it. It seems that I can only come to the Beichan zone, catch Sheng Changsheng, control his young infant, and make him strip himself of the power of the fusion with the celestial sealing scripture. After Huang Lingyao finished speaking, the luster returned to her body. Stroking the celestial sealing scripture, Huang Lingyao was surprised. Why would Sheng Changsheng integrate with the celestial sealing scripture? Only the leader, Ling Mubai, is qualified to control this magic treasure. Even Ling Mubai can't privately integrate with the celestial sealing scripture. He only has the mission of cultivating and protecting this magic treasure. The sect has a rule that the celestial sealing scripture is the most precious treasure of the sect. After a while, Huang Lingyao recovered a bit. She stood up and sucked the formation in her palm. 7-star child will probably leave the small world in a very short time. I don't have much time left. Even if I have the inheritance of Yunxiao's Thunder Sword, I still need the celestial sealing scripture. It's from the countless disciples of the celestial sealing sect, the power of faith and essence of nearly 20,000 years. Moreover, the celestial sealing scripture also has the amazing power of the great world. Using a speed comparable to teleportation, she quickly flew out of the vast wasteland. In the depths of the wasteland were many cities. In less than 2 hours, Huang Lingyao flew past many cities. Du suddenly stopped near a vast mountain range on the outskirts of a city. There are several chambers of commerce established by the celestial sealing sect in this city. The disciples of the celestial sealing sect escaped here. It seems like the higher-ups have already planned everything. Huang Lingyao arrived at the top of the mountain range in the clouds. After looking around for a while, a disciple of the celestial sealing sect arrived. It was an old man whose strength was comparable to the elders. It seemed like he had been persuaded by Huang Lingyao to become a member of her fragrant jade party. The party that he had painstakingly built was very useful at this time. Otherwise, Huang Lingyao would not be able to find Sheng Changsheng's whereabouts in such a short time. The old man bowed and said, Sheng Changsheng is in a formation in the depths of the valley ahead. Fortunately, all the formation imprints have not changed. It will be very easy for you to enter. Now that the sect has settled down here, many of the formations are just decorations. Huang Lingyao nodded with satisfaction. What about Ling Mubai and the 6 disciples of the celestial sealing sect? The 7 of them are heavily injured, and are recuperating in another secret formation. The other disciples are recuperating in the surrounding formations. The 7 of them are heavily injured this time. If Ling Mubai did not use the Celestial Sealing Sect's Guardian Spirit Beast, Foundation, and Tao Artifact, they would not be able to escape the Immortal's power. The other disciples who escaped from the Zhuotian domain are scattered in the nearby small worlds. Most of the disciples will not return here. Now, there are only about 10,000 people left. Even some elders and higher-ups have not returned. Go to the Wutan domain first and wait for me there. The Celestial Sealing Sect will no longer exist in the future. I will bring all the members of the Fragrant Jade Party to settle down in the Wutan domain. In the future, we will also ascend to the outside world. So, the old man immediately flew out of the 9 heavens. The Celestial Sealing Sect's 4 venerable Tao disciples. Su Feng was the first to leave, followed by me, and then that Prince Shui. Only you, Sheng Changsheng, are left. I did not expect you to have no ambition and be willing to become a chess piece of Ling Mubai. Now, I will take your head. The one I killed in the sect last time should be one of your clones. As for Huang Lingyao, she had already sped towards an even bigger mountain range while releasing her senses. In just a short while, with Huang Lingyao's astonishing speed, she arrived at a continuous valley covered in clouds. Yun Fuxin. She revealed a murderous smile and suddenly looked at another formation. Coincidence? What a coincidence. I thought I had died long ago. As expected of the desolate physique, I can still live until now. Originally, she wanted to enter the formation in front, but Huang Lingyao changed her direction. After forming a seal, she indeed entered the formation on the left without making a sound. There were disciples of the Celestial Sealing Sect guarding both inside and outside the formation. However, this was not the Celestial Sealing Sect of the Zhuotian domain. How strong could a formation created on the spot be? Moreover, these surviving disciples of the Celestial Sealing Sect were actually an exiled cultivation force. Many disciples were sitting cross-legged in the formation. The atmosphere was very stifling, and they seemed to have no strength to even breathe. In a small forest near the center, there was an extraordinary disciple who was at Feather Transformation Realm Level 3. He had obvious injuries on his body, and he was absorbing the spiritual energy around him. Yun Fuxin. Although the former genius of the Celestial Sealing Sect could not be compared to the 3 venerable Tao disciples, he had the desolate physique. His future was limitless. In addition, his cultivation time was not long. It was estimated that he would enter the Yu transformation realm in less than 1,000 years. He was indeed extraordinary. It's you. In the air, Huang Lingyao, who had turned into air, displayed the power of the desolate physique to the extreme. Her 5 fingers slightly grabbed toward Yun Fuxin. In the blink of an eye, Yun Fuxin opened his eyes and looked at the natural luster around him like smoke rings. He felt that there was something wrong. Screech. In the next second, the distorted air silently turned into a cocoon and swallowed Yun Fuxin. Buzz! At the same time, Huang Lingyao pressed her 5 fingers on the cocoon and controlled Yun Fuxin under her palm. She coldly shouted, "Don't struggle. Your desolate physique has not cultivated much power. How can you be my opponent? You can only blame yourself for having the desolate physique, but your innate luck is not good enough to obtain more extraordinary power. Everyone has the desolate physique, but there are different grades among the desolate physiques." Chapter 792. You are the aura of the void, the realm lord that has fused with the world. Under her control, Yin Fuxin's trembling voice came from within the cocoon-like seal. Even if he spoke, his voice could not be transmitted out of the small forest. Huang Lingyao's ability was too brilliant. Despite openly attacking Yun Fuxin, the surrounding array was not affected in the slightest. Yun Fuxin's trembling voice came again. "Senior sister, you and I have no enmity. Back then, I did not reject your Fragrant Jade Society, nor did I join the Crown Prince Society or the Stone Saint Society. You did not agree to join my Fragrant Jade Society. In fact, you rejected it." Huang Lingyao's black brows were filled with coldness. You did not join the Crown Prince Society or the Stone Saint Society, but you did not join my Fragrant Jade Society either. It may seem like you did not join the three major parties and stay out of it. It is a wise decision to not get involved in the open and covert struggles between the three of us. In fact, you have offended all three of us. I have no enmity with you. I can join the Fragrant Jade Society and serve Senior Sister forever. It's too late. Back then, I was not strong. I was still cultivating diligently and needed the support of the Fragrant Jade Society. But now, I have cultivation and strength. I do not need you. Furthermore, I only need your desolate body. No, it is useless to say anything. The value of your existence is to become a part of me. This is the ability of my desolate body. Hiss, as Yin Fuxin cried out in despair and helplessness. The cocoon seal was directly sucked into Huang Lingyao's palm. Don't blame me. Huang Lingyao turned around and left the array in a flash. After a few breaths, she arrived outside an array in the depths. This array was very different from other arrays. It covered a large area, and the layers of array were very sturdy. When Huang Lingyao turned into a wisp of mist and entered the array, she saw that the disciples were all great Tao Ascension Realm experts. There were about a few hundred people, but they did not notice Huang Lingyao's existence. These experts were all heavily injured. After experiencing a calamity, they would not allow themselves to be in a highly focused state. They also did not expect someone to infiltrate this place. Sheng Chang Sheng. Huang Lingyao stopped outside a boundary in the depths. She looked at it and confirmed that Sheng Changsheng was inside. Looking around, he saw that there were several array formations. We can't imprison Sheng Changsheng silently. This formation is a bit difficult, and there are so many experts in the surroundings. After thinking for a while, Huang Lingyao moved closer to the array. As Zhang Xian formed a hand seal, an aura that resembled a stream of air gushed into the formation. After a long time, the aura merged with the boundary of the formation, and Huang Lingyao slowly entered the formation. Inside the formation was another world. Spiritual qi and various immortal stones gave off an astonishing luster, intertwining together to form a formation dojo that was rich in spiritual qi. The disciples of the Venerable Tao were truly different, enjoying such resources. Huang Lingyao transformed into a wisp of nothingness and slowly followed the qi into the center. Gradually, he saw Sheng Changsheng, one of the three disciples of the path of supremacy, in the depths of the spiritual energy. He was sitting cross-legged, absorbing the spiritual energy and immortal qi. His cultivation had reached the Ascension realm. Although he hadn't reached the Flying Immortal realm, he was probably at the Flying Immortal realm. At the very least, he had such strength. Otherwise, how could he become one of the three disciples of the path of supremacy of the Celestial Sealing School? How could he compete openly and secretly with Prince Shui and Huang Lingyao for so many years? Huang Lingyao kept getting closer. The closer she got, the clearer she could see. Why is there a stream of marrow-cleansing energy behind Sheng Changsheng that's helping him cultivate? There was indeed a mysterious passage behind Sheng Changsheng. It was very ethereal, and some of its essence was gradually being absorbed by Sheng Changsheng. Sheng Changsheng, you're truly extraordinary. You must have found some old fogey of the Celestial Sealing School to help you cultivate even now. At this moment, Huang Lingyao began forming hand seals again, but she was very slow. She was probably wary of Sheng Changsheng and the experts outside the formation. She quickly reached Sheng Changsheng's side. In less than 10 breaths' time, Huang Lingyao suddenly spread her hands. The Xian Guang that contained a Tao item suddenly turned into countless sword threads. The sword threads cut through all of Sheng Changsheng's spiritual energy and defenses, then wrapped around Sheng Changsheng like a cocoon. The sword threads cut into his skin, then into his muscles. It seemed like they would cut him into countless pieces in the next second. This power was too terrifying. Even an expert like Sheng Changsheng didn't have the slightest reaction. Sheng Changsheng didn't dare to move. He seemed to have realized who was trying to kill him. He uneasily begged for mercy. Don't. Huang Lingyao suppressed the sword threads. Last time, when I took the immortal sealing scripture from you, I knew you weren't simple. I thought we wouldn't have anything to do with each other in the future. After all, the Celestial Sealing School only exists in name now. But I didn't expect you to fuse with the immortal sealing scripture and the remnant wills of countless seniors. It won't be easy for me to deal with so many wills on my own. You can't let me go. Changxing trembled. How can I let you go? Unless you're willing to give up the immortal sealing scripture, I can only take control of your young soul and turn you into my puppet. If you give up the immortal sealing scripture, you'll be no different from a dead man. If you're obedient and cooperate, I might not kill you. I, Changsheng, am willing to be your slave. I'm willing to give everything to you. From now on, you, Huang Lingyao, are my master. Changsheng decisively chose to admit defeat. He lost all self-respect like a beggar. I'm willing to swear an oath. I'm willing to give up everything. I'd rather be trampled under Master's feet for all eternity. I just hope Master can give this lowly slave a chance to live. I don't want to die. Huang Lingyao was also shocked and found it hard to believe. I just said it casually. I thought you were a disciple of the Sovereign's Tao. For 1,000 years, you've been on the same level as me. I just wanted to intimidate you. Who would have thought you'd be such a weakling? He was a disciple of the Sovereign's Tao. Humans don't want to die. Mortals want to live a life of luxury, to be free of illness, to live a carefree life. We cultivators want to live forever and become immortals. Changsheng almost knelt down in front of Huang Lingyao. His facial muscles were violently trembling. I, Changsheng, have cultivated for more than 2,000 years. Today, I'm about to enter the soaring immortal realm. I've survived 3 doomsday calamities, and I'm about to leave the minor world to become a supreme immortal. 3,000 years, Master, I don't want to die. I really don't want to die. I know that Master kills people like scything flax and doesn't care about a lowly cultivator like me. Just treat me as a dog, a pig, a dog. Raising me won't cost you any food. In the future, if you're happy, you can let me out. If you're unhappy, you can lock me in a cold space. You spineless coward, but you really know how to talk. You really know how to make me happy. Then I won't kill you for now. When you do well and make me happy, I'll let you go. But if you make me unhappy one day, I'll take your head the moment I'm not around. Thank you, Master, for not killing me. A disciple of the Sovereign's Tao was crying tears of joy. Buzz! Huang Lingyao first placed a spiritual seal on Changsheng's head. After a while, just as he was about to control the seal, an immortal light surged in his eyes. The immortal light condensed into a sword image. Master, this cultivator's body contains the aura of a peerless treasure. It seems it's not inferior to my existence. Is that so? Huang Lingyao was surprised. He then let the sword image enter Changsheng's body. A while later, a purple aura appeared in Huang Lingyao's eyes. The power of this purple qi was extraordinary. Huang Lingyao immediately sucked the sword threads around Changsheng into her palm, allowing him to regain his freedom. However, he had long been shackled to the young nascent realm. He would be under Huang Lingyao's control for the rest of his life. She immediately asked, "You have a purple aura in your body? What kind of treasure did you get?" "You're talking about?" The latter was terrified. He suddenly grabbed, and a purple light condensed in his hand. It wasn't strong, but it was very ancient. "Master, this seems to be called a purple aura lost spirit. A few hundred years ago, Yuan Tianzong was chasing the Green Feather King in Nanjiang. He accidentally obtained it from that territory and then gave it to the leader, Ling Mubai. He secretly gave it to me. Later on, when I cultivated, I realized that this purple aura lost spirit wasn't simple. But I don't know if it's a treasure or some other treasure. I can't truly merge with it. Purple aura lost spirit." Huang Lingyao's eyes lit up. She was immediately attracted by the purple aura. When Changsheng saw this, most of his fear disappeared. At the very least, his life was saved for now. "All right, let's go." She didn't know what Huang Lingyao was planning to do during this time. She suddenly grabbed Changsheng and flew him out of the formation. Rumble. Just as they were about to leave the formation, a powerful force surrounded the formation. The formation suddenly erupted with powerful sword intent. It was able to resist such a powerful force, and the formation wasn't destroyed. As expected, the immortal sealing sex experts discovered me. It's a good thing I used my trump card early on. Otherwise, I would have been heavily injured. Within the formation, Huang Lingyao sneered. She waved her hand, and the formation transformed into countless strands of sword qi that shot out in all directions. Immediately, the sky was filled with sword qi exploding, forming countless cutting blade lights. It was unknown just how terrifying it was. Swoosh! Huang Lingyao controlled Sheng Changsheng to teleport. He released a few Dao items as a defensive barrier and charged through the explosions. Meanwhile, several corpses of experts from the Celestial Sealing School were crushed by Huang Lingyao's terrifying sword intent and were sent tumbling through the air. Don't chase. Over a dozen experts attacked. Over 100 experts leaped over the sword intent in pursuit of Huang Lingyao. But they were stopped by the 6 sons of Immortal Sealing Sect and their leader, Ling Mubai. Greetings, leader. The experts greeted Ling Mubai. Ling Mubai looked at Huang Lingyao and Sheng Changsheng's figures in the sky. He was furious. This unfilial brat first stole my sect's holy item, the Immortal Sealing Scripture. Now she sneaked in and captured my venerable Dao's disciples. She's unpardonable and deserves to be cut into pieces. But this woman's strength has long since surpassed my sect's control. She's the same as Su Fong and Prince Shui. They've all become peerless experts. With my sect's current situation, we can't afford any more losses. We have to protect our foundation. As for this woman, even if she ascends to the outside world, I won't let her off. She betrayed the sect. Su Fong, Prince Shui, and Huang Lingyao, none of them can live without worries. As expected of their leader, all of the experts in the surroundings were convinced by his words. Everyone disperse. Right now, the most important thing is to recover from your injuries and recover your strength. Don't worry about resources. My sect has been established for 20,000 years. We have plenty of resources. Ling Mubai transmitted his words to his disciples.